I tell you what, everybody here that knows me knows one thing. I would rather be lucky than good. And today is a wonderful example of that because one of my two favorite YouTubers is here today. And my other favorite, I won't mention. Maybe he'll be on here, in the direct future. But I got to say, everybody knows who we are. It's Jensen Quinn over there, Lord Quinn on Discord, our head moderator out there in the chat. As you're here today, please pay attention. Ask any questions to Uzalu that you care to ask. Ask them via Discord or this chat, and Lord Quinn will sift through them, put them in their proper order, and ask them in his wonderful, cultured English voice. Well, folks, boys, I don't have much more than that. Uzalu, I would love to use you right now to make myself look way cooler than I actually am. But to be perfectly honest, on this topic, I don't really know a whole hell of a lot about it. So without any further ado, common sense, could you please take over the helm and steer this ship, sir?
Sure, no worries. Obviously, we're aware that Sargon has decided that he's going to set a group of principles together. If you are under the umbrella term of libertarian or classical liberal, or under the umbrella term, as I said, liberalism in itself, then to be an activist for that ideology, then you would become a liberalist. The name in itself makes a hell of a lot of sense, at least to me on that one. But the principles in itself not entirely make a lot of sense, as in individual words and the way that somebody has phrased it. Now, that's nitpicking, but I wanted to get what your actual opinion of the actual movement in itself is, Uzalu. I know you've done a lot of videos on it recently, but I'd like to know what your opinion is on it.
Well, I think it's well needed. I think something like this, some sort of liberal activism, especially sort of reframed in a sort of new way, even if it's not particularly new at its core, but if it's reframed in such a way, could be significantly helpful to the Western world. I think liberalist is for one thing, I think it's a fine name, and the movement itself, Sargon's been talking about doing something like this for a long time, and it's been needing to happen. And I think the blueprint that he's got for this one is actually pretty good. If we were going to build such a movement, this is pretty close to ideal.
No, I can definitely see that, and I think the idea in itself is, unlike what Mr. Medica and other people like themselves have come out and said that YouTubers can't do this and things like that, I have a complete and utter disdain for that theory. Not the people saying it, but the theory in itself. That people can't do anything. That's the whole point of activism. It doesn't matter if you're a child on the street trying to make a lemon stand or if you're going to be a YouTuber trying to change political views. Isn't that what we do as an everyday subject anyway?
Yeah, I do think the world's changing in that regard. I think that crowdsourcing is in all senses is going to be increasing, and the crowdsourcing of ideas is going to be done via something akin to social media, and it might as well be via video because it's a good way to get the full range of human communication across. So I think YouTube or something like it is going to become much more of a hub for the free marketplace of ideas in the future, and why not activism begin there? I mean, it's the only place that these issues are being honestly and deeply discussed, as far as I know, is, well, the internet in general, but YouTube especially. So why not have this start from there?
No, I definitely have to agree with that. I think that the internet would be one of the best places to at least spark the idea of liberalism properly and the activist term liberalist. I think that would be a very good idea to do, because at least the idea in itself can actually start to spread and hopefully spread like wildfire. Because a lot of people don't have any sort of form of banner to hide under, so to speak, or use that as a shield. Just like the communists would be communists and things like that. They have their name to hide behind, and nothing else really seems to happen like that for liberals. If you're a liberal, you're either going to be the American terminology of it, or you're supposed to be a libertarian. And I think if you actually have the name as a liberalist and it sparks more of an attention, at least you can say, well, no, I'm not an American liberal, I'm a liberalist. And I think you can define a terminology for it rather than having a broad umbrella term for it.
Yeah, I think a name can do a lot for a movement, even a movement that hasn't started yet. I think having a banner under which people can rally, as you say, will do a lot more than people might expect.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, some of the principles, if Ogo wants to bring them up for us, please, on the background, so we can use them as a quick reference so everybody can see them.
Oh yeah, and we'll bring people in now. I mean, don't anybody be afraid. I'm kind of keeping it low, but I wouldn't mind
No, I meant
jumping into
the
this.
principles on the background. But if you've got some questions, please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I was going to say. I'm just going to keep it low and in the background myself. But here we go with what you just requested, sir. And Magic Box, maybe you're on the same page as I am right now. So jump in when you can. Other than that, we'll just leave these lads go at it. We have the Liberalist Society, Liberalist Principles. This statement of principles is a list of the values that liberalists hold as ideals. We also recognize that we live in the real world and that no set of principles can ever be fully realized. But promoting this worldview will produce a demonstrably better society than the current alternatives. And it goes down individual rights. I don't know if y'all want me to read any part of this. Maybe
we will do it at a certain point. What we'll do is if we take it as individual points. So if we go from the first point as what you've just read, and then we'll slowly work our way down. That way we've got something to go forward, and then people can have their own ideas and their own questions. That way they can understand the actual idea of it properly. So, as you just said, it's got the idea of making it better, well, the worldview better, demonstrably better than the current situations or the current alternatives. So I suppose the question would be in that point, what do you think the actual alternatives actually would be to this liberalist movement rather than going under that umbrella term?
I think what he means by current alternatives is, should we say, the culturally dominant ideologies that are, I guess, not necessarily extreme, but prominently radical, prominently different from the norm, which would be social. Well, social justice isn't different from the norm, but it's different from what people think of as the norm, I guess. Different from how people think, the average people think. And the alt-right. Then, of course, there's ideologies that actually have more support, like progressivism standard and conservatism standard. But Sargon would probably argue that this form of liberalism is better than those. But I think when he says current alternatives, he's probably referring to the social justice warriors and the alt-right.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking. That's what he means by current alternatives. The fringe groups of, well, I say fringe groups, the authoritarian groups or totalitarian groups, depending on what side you're going to be on. But you have obviously the idea of feminism in itself and communism and Marxism in that sort of field, and then you also have the alternative of that, which is unfortunately the alt-right at this moment in time and how far that they want to go. Because I don't really think the conservatives really have too much of an option for going forward as an alternative view. I think they're the two views that are unfortunately at the forefront at the moment.
Yeah, they're the two main proposed alternatives to current society. The social justice warriors, despite the fact they've got a hell of a lot of a foothold in society and in institutions, still see themselves as radicals, still see themselves as outsiders who want to change things. And they, if given more power, they would change a lot more things. So they are, in a sense, radicals.
Yeah.
Although it's a bit difficult to measure all those things, but perhaps he could word that a bit better. But my impression with what he's saying in that opening paragraph, the original intent of the opening paragraph, and it may not cover everything he said there, but the original intent was to demonstrate that these ideas, these principles, are not prescriptive standards. They're not set out as definite, codified, like legal principles in any sense. They're just principle preferences.
It's not a manifesto, is it? It's just an idea, a grouping of ideas to formulate under a name.
Yeah, so you could call them ideals. It may be less ambiguous than principles, but yeah, they're not supposed to be prescriptive or specific or precise. They're just general preferences.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't really. Does anybody else have any questions about the ideas of any of the alternatives out there at all before we move on to the next bit?
No, not me.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to listen to you lot too. I did send a link out to Adam and his Apple. He's not been on the show yet, and I do believe he might have something insightful to say and take my voice. So I'm just going to do what I'll be good at doing today. I'm sure everybody out there thinks I can't shut the hell up, but I'll try to prove it today because I have. I just want to learn today from people that know much more about this than myself. So we're on to individual rights, gentlemen, if I see this correctly. So individual rights, protecting the rights of the individual must be the highest value of society to foster mutual tolerance and respect towards the civilization of the dignity of every, the cultivation of the dignity of every person. Hope I didn't muddle that up too much by switching that word. So to foster mutual tolerance and respect towards the cultivation of the dignity of every person.
Yeah, to me, I don't really have too many questions on that one. For me, being under the umbrella term of libertarian or liberalism, I would absolutely follow that completely. I feel that if the power of the individual is absolute, then you don't really have much of a problem because everybody has the same rights and the same principles and the same ideals, in theory.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said for universal rights, and there was a question about whether group rights would be present in a liberalist society. Sargon's original writing of this document was more expansive and more. It seemed like it was trying to be more precise, more standardized, more exact. But this newer version, which is following a suggestion I made that it be a bit more vague, a bit more general. The newer version with individual rights here doesn't mention group rights. It's the idea is not to exclude group rights necessarily. It's just to prioritize individual rights when you can choose between the two. It's to regard every one of your citizens as deserving of roughly the full measure of rights, and the only rights that should be excluded are ones that are, that you can explain evidentially shouldn't be given to them, like things like disabled rights.
Yeah. No, I'd have to completely agree with that. The idea of putting group rights in the first place was, as you quite rightly said, a little bit of a red herring for myself. Because if you're going to put forward the idea of individual rights in itself, first of all, as he did do and is, then it would be a case of those individuals' rights would transfer to any groups anyway. So there would be no need to put it into any sort of form of group rights. Because if everybody has the same right, then it doesn't matter what group you are. If you're Hindu, you're going to have the same rights as a Christian. If you're a Christian, you're going to have the same rights as an atheist, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So it doesn't matter about because individually, you all have the same rights. So I have to completely agree with that statement in itself.
Yeah.
I suppose we can move on to the next bit, Oga. If nobody else has got any questions.
No, I'll pipe in too. I'm not sure. I would leave it to Magic Bollocks. I have nothing on that particular thing. I mean, to me, this is basic. What this is, I've read through it. It looks like a good basis for a Bill of Rights. So on that, unless Magic Bollocks has something, I'll move on to the next one. We'll get by this too, folks. There's not a ton of these. We'll get through this. Anybody listening, and we'll go on to the questions proper and everything. So democracy. Did you have something on Magic Bollocks?
No, I was just going to say about the whole idea of the individual is that in terms of allowing people to form groups and such, it's difficult really to sort of mandate what people want to do in a group, because obviously as humans we are social animals and we want to be in a group as such, but it's that the main problem we have, especially at the moment, is the mentality of so many to form groups that the individual no longer is the individual thinking, person in that group. They just altogether have one hive mind and do all the same thing, think all the same way. And
the Borg, if you will.
Yeah. And it's in sort of Sargon's, idea of a society. It's difficult really to say to someone that we want you all to have individual rights, but if you want to form a collective, technically you can't do that because it's a threat to libertarianism. So it's just trouble. There is no perfect solution to this, and there never will be, because there will always be some people who lean more towards the collective than the individualist. And what you do with these people, they'll always be there. And
Well, I answered a question similar to this on my stream that you don't have to do anything with these people. As long as they're integrated sufficiently with the structure of your society, you don't have to try and coerce them towards individualism. Individualism is permissive, not prescriptive. It's a standard for allowing people to act a certain way. It doesn't restrict their behavior away from certain things, unless those things are against, as I say, the structure of the society or the law, unless those things negatively affect other individuals. There's only a few precepts of the society that you should have to enforce. The law and, I guess, the structure of it, in my opinion, should be enforced. But beyond that, people can be collectivist if they want.
Permissive, not prescriptive. And carry on too if you have any other questions, Magic Box. But just for those of us that may not have completely grasped what you meant by that, does that mean to say that it allows people to choose what they would like to choose, but doesn't force them to choose anything? Is that what that meant, sir?
That is the case. But what I meant by that was that it doesn't describe a list of things that you're allowed to do and then everything else you're not allowed to do. Mm-hmm. It describes a list of things. Oh, no, not even that. It's not a whitelist or a blacklist. It's not even a standard for the people to follow. It's just a standard for the society to follow. And so it's open to the people to do whatever they want, as I said, within the bounds of the law and the structure of the system. So in my opinion, but Sargon and others disagree with this, anyone who wants to do anything that would jeopardize the structure of the society, of the nation, that should be, or at least could be, restricted by laws or provisions within the system.
Now, you see, that's what I believe as well, which is that you kind of need a system where, like at the moment, where we've got a lot of Marxists in positions of influence, especially in universities. Now, a lot of people think that, that should be just left as it is and it will naturally fizzle out. I'm not so sure about that. I actually think these people can be and are incredibly dangerous. You only got to look at someone like Yvette Falaka, as somebody who, sociopathic nutcase who's actually filling their pupils' heads with absolute nonsense. Oh. And I think in terms of, being a liberalist society, you need to realize that people like that are a threat because they actually want to take these people, brainwash them into the collective and turn it into what they think is their utopia, but is everybody else's dystopia. So you really need to get the balance right between, like Uzalu said, which is everybody's free to do whatever they want within the confines of the law. But at the same time, the law needs to recognize that some people will pose a danger and they have to be dealt with.
Hear, hear.
It's not so much that that people should be ideologically punished for believing things, but yeah, some actions. It's not even about treason or anything like that. The reason I was saying this is that I think that it might be a good idea to have restrictions against anti-democratic parties getting voted in via democracy. Parties that would, if they could, remove democracy, shouldn't be voted in by it. That's all I meant.
Yes,
I think Yvette Falaka may well be breaking plenty of laws, and the law should be applied consistently. And that's been one of the problems in the Western world, is that certain groups have got away with a lot of things. That's somewhat changing now with Antifa being actually opposed by the police. But I don't think you need a solution for Yvette Falaka or people like her that is based on ideology. Just base it on the actions and have them as a universal legal standard.
Oh, no, I agree with that. It should not be ideological. It should just be to make sure that, for the individual, for the rights of the individual must not be violated by these people. And that's kind of what someone like her and her ilk are trying to do. I mean, if you want to go out and protest peacefully, regardless of whatever you believe, and you're getting attacked, you're getting things thrown at you, you're getting beaten, then, yes, you need something to protect you from it. That means that these people are not following the liberalist law, which is the right to do what you want. If you see what I mean.
I just have a quick question for you, Magic Bollocks. Do you think that is the principles of a collective ideology, or do you think that is going along the idea of individualism? Because
you read my mind.
Because obviously with people like Yvette Falaka, they're trying to invoke the collective ideology rather than living under the individualism that we're trying to preach, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's. I mean, it's blatantly obvious what they want is well, they. I mean, she's never ever. Someone like her has never actually come out and said what their ideology necessarily is. But you can tell damn well it's Marxist in nature, can't you? So, and when you look at a group like BAME and with Antifa, it is a massive collective, isn't it? All thinking, being supposedly all thinking the same, or doing the same, or going towards the same ideology. So, so yes, yeah, go on.
So the reason why I asked that question is because if we were proposing a society that doesn't actually take into consideration the collective groups, as in making up the idea of the collective group is stronger than the individual, because we believe universally that the individual right trumps everything else, then these type of ideologies wouldn't actually stem up, because everybody would know that they're created equally, because there wouldn't be any sort of form of discrimination on any grounds.
No, I quite. No, I right there. Common sense. The whole idea is that we would be teaching everybody that you're all individual, you're all unique, but we're all treated the same. So there's no need to form collectives because none of you are being oppressed. You're all free to do whatever you want. But I want to believe that's possible, but I've seen so many times again in history where you think you've almost got there, and then the collective comes back. Somebody's managing to convince a group of people they're being oppressed, and you'd really need every single person to be working for the same outcome for this to work, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't think that we've ever had a fully implemented liberal system, though. That's the point that I think the idea of this political movement is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, Uzalu, but I would have thought that the idea of this is to try and implement the idea of the individual right is completely the most important thing, the pillar or the backbone or the foreground, whatever you want to call it. It is the point that's the point that we're going to build everything up from. So I don't think that's ever happened before, where the individual right is the most important thing, not even government structure or anything else like that. As long as you have individual rights to begin with, then society will flourish. And I think if people grow up with that idea and ideology, there'll be no point in having any sort of thinking of going, well, the collective is going to be stronger, because nothing's going to be stronger than your own personal individual rights. It just depends. Like, as you said, it does hinge on the ideology that you're adopting. But if you're going to grow up thinking individuals have the same rights as everybody else, there is no way of being able to form any division in there, because everybody is equal.
And good question. If you'll answer that, Uzalu, and then allow me about 30 seconds after his answer, gentlemen, to just catch up here and keep things a little bit on my side of the track. So, Uzalu, what a great question. You got to answer for that, sir. I'm sure you do.
I'm sorry. What was the question exactly? I was listening, but
it rambled and then I broke in. Just shorten that up. Common sense, you know what to do.
The main question, I suppose, that I posed to Magic Bollocks was: there hasn't ever been a political system, where individual rights trumps everything else, as in that is the first principle or the first law, first tenet, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there's ever been a system that's ever worked like that. Do you think that those type of systems would be able to, over time, eradicate collective ideologies, because the rights of individuals would be paramount for everybody?
I don't know about eradicating collective ideologies, but I think the US is the closest example we're going to find to a state founded on individual rights. And I think, arguably, it does meet the bill, but it might be the only state that does. I'm not sure that you want to eradicate collective ideologies, because there are good ideas at every point on the political compass and whatever other scale you want to use for political belief. You just want to prevent them from taking power or doing violence against people. And the best way to prevent them taking power is a system of accountability and perhaps some provisions against specific types of ideologies taking power, those that oppose democracy, the system that elects them, and also consistent application of law and individual rights. I mean, you just need a few basic tenets of society to prevent tyranny.
Yeah, wouldn't that go completely against the idea and principles of individual rights, though? I'm not trying to derail anything, but if everybody has the power to have their own individual rights and their freedom of expression and so on and so forth, surely it would be in their right to be able to come up with the idea of a collective ideology then, and then try to take power.
Well, the first part, yes. You can come up with the idea, but the idea that a democracy should permit the election of something that would destroy the democracy seems to me like a nation being willing to commit suicide when none of its members want it to, necessarily. I mean,
yeah, I just mean that it's a. Don't take it the wrong way. I know it's not us that's talking as individuals; it's ideology. So don't take it the wrong way. But it's like an hypocrisy trying to say that it would be the rights of the individuals to do exactly what they want, but you can't do this because you'll destroy this. It just destroys the makeup of their freedom of rights, if you know what I mean.
well,
So
what's
in
the
other words,
alternative?
the government telling you what you could do. In other words, the government coming on and saying you can't dig here on your own land because there is some squirrel or bird or turtle or something. Is that what you mean?
No, nothing like that at all. What I mean is, I support the idea of communism. Therefore, I want a communist government with big, massive governments, and
Oh, okay.
I
All
want
right,
to
now
put a dictator into power.
okay.
That would trump my individual right to be able
Okay,
to.
because I was that makes it very clear also. And Uzalu, yeah, I'll let you boys go forever. We got some other people want to ask questions, but I'll just carry on, Uzalu. So did you get the question that he just asked, or did I just muff it again? So he's saying, because I was thinking that what he meant was, should we let the government come in and what I said? So the question is, if you'll just make that very succinct again, because I just bungled it there, common sense.
Yeah,
and
sure.
then I'm sure, yeah.
Basically, the premise of my little argument was, if I believe in an individual state as in individual rights, if I believe in the idea of communism and other people believe it in enough themselves and follow me and then elect me to government, whose right is it to be able to completely and utterly change that if we're all individual rights under the libertarian banner?
I'm not sure it's well, it's socially libertarian, not necessarily any more than that. But this is not necessarily a principled concern I have here, because I'm not completely a liberal myself. I implement a few other ideas as well, which is partly why I don't call myself a liberalist at the moment.
Yeah.
The idea I'm having here with preventing people from destroying the democracy that would grant them the ability to destroy it is a practical concern. And so, yes, it would potentially violate some principles, but no one is without a context where they would be willing to violate their principles. Unless you're like an ANCAP, which I don't think anyone here is.
No.
So for me, you've just got to draw the line at a point that's, I think for Sargon, I talked to him about this. The point at which you would start violating your principles, for him would come at some sort of disaster like a war.
Yeah.
And for me, it would come at the point where you can prevent a disaster. It would come a little bit sooner than that. It would come at the point where like 51% of the population have become communists or fascists or something. And the society itself is not simply a mechanism for moving through whichever ideology is prevailing at the time until eventually it kills itself. The society should attempt to maintain itself somewhat. It should attempt to stay as a strong and potent democracy. Now, the chances of 51% of the population of a democracy becoming communist or fascist is fucking incredibly low. So I don't think this prospect of mine would ever come up. But if it did, you'd be damn happy that it did if you were someone that wanted to defend the democracy. So that's an occasion where I would be willing to violate people's individual rights to become the leader of the country. I'm not even sure if that is something you would call an individual right, in order to protect the country itself.
Yeah, the only thing that I would just add, and then I suppose we'll move on afterwards. The only thing I would say to that is, then that would completely go against the principles or the idea of actually being able to have individual rights and a democracy in itself, to actually be able to not necessarily stop people from taking over, so to speak, but if people collectively want to have the ideology of communism, which obviously I don't, I think it would be a stupid idea. But if everybody did, surely under the idea of libertarianism in itself would say, well, if everybody wants that idea, who am I to stop it because of democracy in itself?
Yeah. So if you don't want to jump in there, because Uzalu, he's splitting time. I can see what he's doing. He's out there talking to people and stuff too. He can pinpoint that, and I would like to, because let me just say, no, I can't say it right now. So if you got that, Uzalu, get that to me, because I want to ask one more person. Believe it or not, with all these people in here, I'd like to ask one more person in here, but so far it's been very genteel, and we have somebody even on the panel waiting to ask a question very kindly. So I appreciate that. So Uz, do you need another prodding from Common Sense to answer to consider that last question, or are you good to go?
He said he was just adding a comment, but if there was a specific question there.
No,
Okay.
it was only a comment. It was just trying to point out that it goes against the ideology.
Well, I told him myself I'm splitting time too. So when I heard him end, I was like, did he ask him? And I was waiting. So I did think there was a question there, but it just shows that I'm splitting my time. I will say this much. For all the people out there that talk about patriarchy and whatnot, men are better at a lot of things than women. One thing that I've found that I'm not better at than most women is doing more than one thing. Yeah, I'm just not that great at it. I'm not. And it's not because I'm not trying. It's because I'm just not that good at it. So two things very quickly. Oh, man, that was great. And we'll go on to I think the next Common Sense is economic freedom. We'll go on to that. But Conscious Caracal, thank you so much for being here, my South African brother. I'm so sorry that I called you an Amerikaans the other day. I was half stoned out of my gourd when I did that, and I didn't catch it in the cutting room floor, so that slipped through. Afrikaans is what he is, a boar, a fearsome, feared boar, one of the most tenacious people on God's earth. So before I cut you loose, I just want to say I did send you a link, Adam and his apple. I hate it because there's so many people here, but there are some voices out there that need to be heard. And to have one more boar here, one more Afrikaans here, would do my heart well. So, Conscious Caracal, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you, everyone, for being so cool with all of us here. We all want a little piece of Uzalu. He is quite a wise gentleman for such a young man. So, what do you got for us, Conscious Caracal?
Yeah, I just wanted to add as a supplement to this conversation, I think that's the central juggling act of a liberal democracy, is the fact that you create a society where you no longer solve your problems through violence or try to settle your differences through violence. You rather do it through debate, votes, and dialogue. The central contradiction is then you need the state to enforce or to use violence to keep those in check that want to use the democracy's tools against it. That's what Weber said. The state has a monopoly on legitimized violence. So I think that's the central balancing act that people need to keep in mind when we talk about about the individuals within a democracy that seek to overthrow it with its own tools. They are granted, they're granted freedom of speech. They're granted the ability to voice their opinions, but then they can also use that to undermine the system that grants them those freedoms.
Yeah, I think letting them do whatever they want above the level of the structure of the nation is fine. But at that level, there should be certain safeguards to prevent it being jeopardized. And yeah, you're right. If you collectivize violence in such a way that's accountable and ideally is actually virtuous and is not misused, then within that space where violence is prescribed as not permitted, people will have to solve their problems through non-violent means, and that means less bloodshed and often better solutions. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we're seeing in many of the countries across the world today, is the fact that a lot of people are pushing those boundaries. They know the boundaries are there, but then they use as Jordan Peterson says, a lot of things get really bad one little step at a time. So people just push the boundaries in terms of violence, and then you get groups like Black Lives Matter, or in South Africa you get the economic freedom fighters. Democratic frameworks still raise hell basically, and they get a free pass a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's fortunate that in America recently the police have actually stepped in and started doing something about the violence, and Antifa do seem to have become much less of a story as a result, which is very fortunate. They should have been doing that from day one.
Yeah, I don't think that's such a large demand, just to ask that everyone is held to the same rules, to the same standards. No group given a free pass, no matter their ideology. But I think that's the central frustration, is that people are realizing that certain government institutions are giving special treatment to certain groups that align more closely to their ideology. And that's no coincidence.
Yeah, but I think that's the point of having the ideology of the liberalist movement. The fact that they're not going to go under the same principles of any collective, is all going to be individual. And as I said before, I believe that if people were under the force of everybody has equal rights, by everybody has the same individual rights, you're by that necessity will destroy the collective ideology anyway. Because you can't say, well, I'm being oppressed and use that as a recruiting mechanism because everybody's equal. At least that's my theory.
Yeah, no, but I think I agree with Uzalu, the fact that collectivism isn't objectively bad. It's not inherently bad. There are certain parts of collectivism that do serve a purpose. It's not completely scrappable. But I do think we need to keep it in check. Like anything, moderation is key. Good parts and limit the bad parts.
When you're building an ideal society, a model for society, your number one concern should be accountability. And it's going to inevitably be, if you're actually considering it as a long-term solution. And so collectivism is in areas is necessary because collectives, I mean, there's a reason that they are evolutionarily viable, because you can be stronger if you collectivize. If you collectivize thought.
Yeah, it creates communal cohesion.
Yeah, if you've got two people who are essentially collectivized, who have, through effort and through life experience, have become essentially the same, then you've got the strength of two people acting practically as one person, and against an individual who has, put in all that effort to become a potent individual. Still, they won't be able to overcome two people. That's why we have collectives, and we do have to have some degree of collectivism in building societies, and a liberalist wouldn't disagree with this. It's just the areas that should be applied in have been tried and tested throughout history, and the liberal ideology would say that you've got the nation, that's a collective, but beyond that, the collective should be voluntary, and every individual should be guaranteed a certain set of rights.
Yes, as long as the collective doesn't become tyrannical and be used against certain minority groups in terms of ideas.
Beautiful. And we'll let you have the last word on that, because look, gentlemen, I was actually worried, and I can almost feel Common Sense Guy, cool as he is, not saying anything in the side chat or to me directly on air. We're only on number 3 going down this list of 7. So Common Sense, shall I read on to the next one and see if that doesn't spark some more conversation, sir?
Yes, please, sir.
So economic freedom is number 3 on this list of Sargon's liberalist principles. Economic freedom, property rights that begin with personal self-ownership and private property creates the most productive societies. So once again, property rights that revolve around, that include, that encompass, that encapsulate, that only basically have to do with personal self-ownership and private property creates the most productive societies. Common Sense Guy, if you'd like to kick it off, I'm sure that Uzalu will comment on what you say.
Could you just pop it up for us, please? Because I like to use it as a reference.
I'm sorry, man. I will, but the reason that you can see my whole thing went down. It's just I can do this. You won't be able to see my ugly face, but absolutely. Just let me know when you're done with it, sir.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine the way you've done it there. So property rights that begin with personal self-ownership and private property creates the most productive societies. I don't really have too much to really go on that, because if you go under any other principle, then you're basically going under the idea that the state should own everything. So I don't really have too much to say on that. It makes logical sense to have property rights begin with personal self-ownership. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. When Sargon did it the first time, he sort of contradicted himself in the same sentence by saying personal rights and personal ownership should be the same as creating private property. But the way that he's worded it here is not perfect, but is a hell of a lot better than what it was. Property rights that begin with personal self-ownership and private property creates the most productive societies, which is true. If you can get societies that own their own houses, their own cars and things like that, they're going to work harder. If it's something that's provided, then what's the point? If it's something that you can't own, what's the point? So I don't really have too much to add to it if anybody else wants to carry on.
Well, just very quickly, because I said Uzalu, but very quickly, because this actually has something to pipe into. I think this, without being mysterious, this drives at the root of what is wrong with the basic premise of the Communist Manifesto, from each according to their ability, to each according to their needs. I may have flip-flopped those, whatever it is. Okay, but I want to play devil's advocate, Uzalu. So the question is, if there's no private property, why, what would be the sense, right? What would be the sense of getting up? The statement was made earlier, there's no ANCAPs here. Well, I'm anarcho-capitalist only because I can't find a better solution to government than that, because I don't believe in government. I think it's much like God in heaven. It's up to you to believe in it or not, and it's probably not wise to force it on other people. So what would actuate someone? Well, as someone that does believe we could live in the world I just described, I have to say that the idea that it was owned by the collective, okay? The idea that the car manufacturer was owned by everyone and that anyone that needed a car could go get it, wouldn't that, Uzalu, sir, wouldn't that actuate people? Couldn't communism work if the English tried it, Uzalu?
Well, I think that as much as collectivism and collective notions are inherent in evolution for good reasons, it's also true that individualism is as well for different reasons. And as much as tribes seem to be the main unit of evolutionary development, those tribes won't develop themselves if not for individuals that differ from the tribe and are still meritorious. And the way that evolution found for us to manifest that process is a strong sense of individual ownership and accountability to one's interests, even aside from the interests of the tribe. And so, as much as you may be able to generate some theory that could say otherwise, it appears to be inherent in human nature that we work for our own interests and we value our own property immensely. Even when it's not an economic property, even when it's family, we value what we perceive to be ours individually. And I could maybe, given time, generate a better understanding of exactly why that is, but suffice to say, it is the case.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that very, very quickly. I don't think the fact that government or even a cooperative owning different things would be able to actually generate enough to be able to give to the whole of a country or to a state, not without the state suffering, because it would have to generate its own income. And if it's just giving out everything to everybody's needs, then there's no sort of form of regulation there. Whether you could say regulation by government regulations or by the free market, which obviously the free market would be the best way of regulating it. But if there's no form of regulations there in the first place, then it will fail. You will use up all of your natural resources. Everybody will then have all of those things plummet, which means anybody that put any investment into the actual building of a car, for instance, as you said, would absolutely lose all of their investment because it would be worth absolutely nothing now because everybody's got one. It's not a case. A lot of things work on the rarity. So obviously with diamonds, it's a case of they're obviously regulated, and it's a case of if people find more diamonds, the prices go down. If they lose more diamonds, the prices go up. It's the same thing for manufacturing.
Hey, wait. No, I'm sorry, comments is to break in. Let me look here. As a Jew, let me hang on one second, if you will, sir. I got hang on now. You mentioned diamonds, so let me get out my. Okay, all right. Oh, I knew it too. Section 9553, Code 105 of the Jew Handbook says, if anyone disparages the regulation of diamonds from Antwerp or any other place on the globe affecting Jews. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. We can't. No, I'm just teasing. Go ahead, carry on.
But no,
but I do have an uncle that deals in diamonds, and so it is a very Jewish thing.
Right, somebody quickly shout the word shekels and watch him go into apeshit mode.
But that is basically the premise of my argument. If everything was controlled by the state, as things have been shown before, everything would lose its money, and the point of regulating any sort of form of market would collapse. It's just as simple as that. That's why it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and the thing that people don't realize is that society's needs are boundless. limitless. It's infinite. People will always want more. People always need more. The ability won't always be there to provide for them. So that's the thing that people miss.
Yeah, though I am slightly left of center, I think that if you're going to create a society where you either have to remove democracy or the free market, you can remove democracy, your society might last a few decades. But if you remove the free market and you remove what comes along with that, like private property, then you're going to have a tyrannical state that might last, however long it lasts, it's going to be worse. If it lasts for twice as long as the state with the free market and no democracy, you would rather it had lasted half as long. That's how bad it's going to be. As soon as you collectivize property, a lot of horrible things come along with it. And even the idea that you would need an AI more powerful than anything we've conceived, because it's not just about the quantity of stuff going on, the quantity of transactions. There are qualities that are incredibly difficult to measure that differ from individual to individual. They have a very good idea of what they want, but no one else does. The best system you could imagine would be one where it knows what they want before they do. And, you can't imagine a system that powerful being created today. The idea that any socialist can think that they could create such a system, they have to ignore aspects of human nature or simply not be aware of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of the free market, is it's effectively saying to the people what you want, and then we provide it, whereas the government would never do that. It would give you what it thinks you want. You've only got to listen to V when he's talking about what it was like in Romania back under the communists. The fact you'd have row after row of all the houses being exactly the same and all having the same decor and interior. I mean, how fucking boring and soul-destroying is that? Again,
it's anti-human.
Exactly. It would only work, if we were all bloody robots and all thought exactly the same. Individual needs and wants, you just cannot get that from somebody who's telling you what you want instead of you telling the system what you want. And that's the whole reason why the free market has and does work when it's left to be the free market.
Yes, and that's why the free market also works complementary to property rights, because property rights create accountability, and it also creates an incentive to maintain, preserve, and develop. And that just works in perfect harmony with democracy. If you can, and with the free market in general, if you can just maintain it, you can just keep it stable.
Yeah, I quite agree. Isn't it funny that the system that seems to work the best is always the one that twins in with what we consider to be human nature, and all forms of collectivism always goes against that.
Yeah. It is remarkable how we've managed to find the two best systems for societal development, capitalism and democracy, and we find that they fit together perfectly. Like, there's got to be something to that, right?
Oh, exactly. I quite agree. Yeah, and it's funny how some people actually think that having the best two systems already in place, that fuck that, let's destroy it and bring in something that's completely against human nature and has failed every time it's been tried before.
Yeah, and we're doing so good, lads. I'm gonna move along, even though I tried to say some a couple times, but like CC pointed out, Conscious Clerical pointed out earlier, in situations like this, it's good to have a good balanced panel, and sometimes you don't always get to say what you want to say.
Your point about diamonds in that was very important.
Exactly.
And I'm getting hell for it too, Uzalu. I'm sure you've seen it in the chat. I got my Jew book. That's the whole point. I mean, if you can't make fun of yourself, then to me, you're a worthless lump of clay, and you should just curl up in a ball and fucking die. So here we go. We're moving right along. We're doing very good. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to say them by name. Jensen Quinn hadn't said anything because apparently you lot haven't asked a question good enough to ask Uzalu. I'm sure he'll pipe up as soon as you do. So be on your P's and Q's out there in the chat, or be worthless. It's completely up to you, and just let us entertain you. But if you have a good question, I'm sure that our head moderator and Lord Quinn of Discord will let us know. And CC, Conscious Clerical, thank you so much. Magic Bollocks, of course. Common Sense Guy, I don't have the words. And Uzalu, our guest of honor in the hot seat, handling himself as any self-respecting Englishman would, and that is with complete decorum and utter self-assuredness. So let's move on to this next one. Freedom of speech. This is the next on the list of the Sargonite's book to the liberalist society. I don't know how else to put it. This is the Sargonauts, guide to the collectivist society. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression.
Sorry, what? The Sargonauts guide to the collectivist. They were not letting you slip back.
Liberalist. I misspoke. Thank you so much for catching that. Liberalist. So here we go. Since the common sense, why don't, as soon as I read this, you kick us off since you've already busted me. And you've been doing so good tonight. As I said, sir, I do not have the words for what your work means to me. Freedom of speech. Freedom of expression is a necessary and fundamental pillar of a free society.
I consider freedom of expression to be structural, not just something that comes above the structure of the system, not just something that could be changed, and just something that's that you decide to give to people within the system. It's an aspect of the system.
I would have important. No, I definitely agree that it's very, very important. I think that if you're going to create any sort of form of liberalist society, then the pillars need to be foundations, or the foundations need to be brought upon the fact of having individual rights and the freedom of expression. Those two things will build you the civilization that you want. Other things will come along which will be completely gone around, and we'll be able to have the debates and be able to talk about it. But if you don't have one of each, your society will fail. Individual rights that you want, but if you don't have the freedom of expression to be able to debate anything, then your society will fail. And vice versa.
The way I see it, that freedom of expression is the internal messaging system of the cell. If the cell detects some sort of issue at its outer borders and there's no freedom of speech, there's no way to communicate that issue to, let's say, the nucleus. If you're willing to take the analogy of a society with a cell.
Yeah. No, but that's completely right. You can use that as a nervous system. If the nervous system is not connected to the brain, then how are you going to feel pain? And you're not going to be able to sort out any issues that you have.
Yep.
Oh, and I just realized too, as soon as this is over, don't, please, just take a second, common sense. Please remember the next words you were going to say. Don't forget it. The Discord questions will be next. Jensen Quinn just let me know. He's so cool. He didn't even want to speak up on air. So carry on. And after this, prepare yourself, Uzalu. I don't know what these bloody morons are going to ask you, but I'm sure you can handle it.
No, I was basically just going to agree with Uzalu, basically. That's why I said fundamentally they go together like beans on toast, or whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy you want to use, or metaphor rather, that they just go together. Without those two things in the society will fail. And just using the two analogies as we've had done, if you're going to use it as a cell, then it needs to have both, otherwise the cell will collapse. And as I just used as a nervous system for the body, if it's not connected to the brain, your body's not going to be able to do any sort of repair work to it, because it's not going to feel that it's in pain. That's why I think that they fundamentally need to go together. Everything else can be moved around it to make society better, but those two things will make you a society and a civilization. Nothing else will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not difficult to argue that freedom of speech is essential. Even the alt-right don't try to argue against it, though I think in reality, in power, they would definitely violate it.
Yeah. In fact, it's so
definitely
essential that common sense, Conscious Carol, tone us out on this though. What we'll do is we'll let Conscious Carol have a little speak. In fact, this is so important with freedom of speech. That if you got something to say, Magic Bollocks, of course, say something. But let's keep it brief, folks, because we're near the halfway mark, and we're up hard against the Discord questions, and I don't know when Uzalu is going to want to leave us, and I don't want to impose on him any longer than we may. So
about another half hour.
Okay, but another half hour. So yeah, make this brief. CC Magic, if you have one last word on freedom of speech, because then the Discord questions, and we'll hammer through these last three before we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, yeah. For me, it's simple in terms of freedom of speech. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. If someone is wrong, I want to give them a bullhorn so other people can see that they're wrong as well. And I think that in a free marketplace of ideas, bad ideas get browbeaten in idealistic terms. But I also agree that we see a lot of support for freedom of speech on the alt-right. But then again, just as Uzalu said, when they get in power, they might as well throw that out of the window. They might just use it as window dressing to get to that position, to get support. Show everyone your entire hand. You're always going to keep some cards close to your heart.
Yep. As far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be any debate over free speech. It should be a complete given. And I am actually ashamed that we in Europe don't have what the Americans have with their constitution, and the very first one is the right to say whatever you want. And anybody who wants to shut down free speech and claims to be any kind of libertarian is a lying, bullshitting bastard. Freedom of speech is... No, please go on, Mr. Roger.
No, I thought I was jumping in right when you were done, so carry on.
No, I was literally going to say that anybody who is against free speech is an enemy of freedom and democracy and everything that us as humans and individuals stand for. Oh,
you better believe it. Let's always remember that the Constitution can be trampled upon by tyrants just as easy as the Magna Carta. And even though it may not have been as specific, we would not have a constitution if not for the Magna Carta. I think of the old, and I've really got to be brief here, so please don't comment on this. Let me turn this right over to Jensen Quinn before we run out of time with Uzalu, because he's the important one tonight. In fact, let me just skip what I got to say. I'll tell you all about my views another time. It's really not important right now. We have a guest with us. So Jensen Quinn, what do we got for the man?
All right. I'm Jensen Quinn. I'm the guy who more or less runs the Discord channel, and I'm the Muppet in charge of questions. If you've got any, shove them in Discord. We're going to start with one from RPR. Would the idea of a free-thinking movement be greater or weaker than the liberal identity?
And Uzalu, all these will be directed toward you, sir.
Yeah, I think I get what he's saying there. I think I don't think that. I think when we talk about identitarianism, there's at least two senses in which it's used, and there's one sense that's really cancerous and one sense that's kind of natural and necessary. So for example, national identity doesn't tend to be a problem these days anyway, or it hasn't been in recent history. But racial and sexual and certain other kind of identities have caused problems, and I think it may not be the type of identity that's the problem, but what you do with it. And so this is something I talked to Sargon about. There's definitely a distinction there to be made on what kind of collectivism, what kind of identitarianism we don't like. But there are certain kinds that are going to happen, that are going to be necessary, that may even be positive. As I said, there are advantages to certain kinds of collectivism. When it comes to the liberalist thing, the idea that collectivizing and doing activism will reduce free thought is pretty much my central concern for the liberalist movement. However, it is a sacrifice that to some extent we should be willing to make, not to say that we should lose our ability to think freely, but that if people want to do the activism, they might have to put the activism first occasionally. I think we've done the free thinking thing for long enough now. I think the ideas are well enough developed that at least some of us can go off and actually try to implement them in real life. Now, if you don't want to do that, you absolutely don't have to. It's fine. And what's more, I do trust Sargon to maintain his focus on the truth, because he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't think it was completely true, and if he hadn't tried to work out all the kinks with it and kinks in his own thinking. I think Sargon's about the best person to do this that I know of. So if it's going to happen that the identitarianism of the liberalist movement overrides free thought, I expect it will only be to a small degree, and it will only be in those who have volunteered to become activists. If you're going to become an activist, do be aware that sometimes you'll end up putting the activism before the free thought. For me, I'm going to try to stick to the free thought, but support the activists.
Before we move on to any other questions, I'd just like to absolutely second that notion that Sargon is the best man for the job, so to speak. I do honestly believe that.
Cheers. And if we can, let's keep these. And if you got anything else to say, comments, let's keep these, because our, even though you probably can't tell with all this interjecting I do, I was trying to keep it on track and help my brother here. Let's keep it to Uzalu and a common sense guy just for the next. Quinn, do you have 4 more? And Uzalu, if you can keep it to that or a little bit shorter, just rapid fire, because the more we answer from these people, the happier they are. So do you have 4 more, Quinn?
I've got 3 more for you.
Okay, perfect. 3 more, and then we'll get through with that. So please, including myself, as they go through, when Uzalu's done, unless Common Sense Guy has something to say, Quinn will go on to the next, and we'll go through them just like that so that we can get the most out of our guests that we can.
From the voice of one, movement costs money. So how is a movement going to pay for its activities?
You'll find those things tend to culminate when you've got enough people supporting something. You don't necessarily need to have money there from the get-go. Obviously you can't just look at Sargon's Patreon, Maker Support, and AdSense, add them up, and think that's the money the movement has. Just with good ideas, they tend to filter down through culture, and the money. I don't know how. I'm not proposing that it's going to happen, but I'm just saying that you can't just assume it has to be there from the start. There will be people that support this movement who want to contribute to it, and what's more, some things the movement does. It's a new age. Some things don't have to take money that might have taken money in the past. I'm not particularly a money-focused guy, so there's definitely a concern there. But what I've just presented is an attempt to ameliorate that concern partly. I don't know. You'd have to ask Sargon about the specifics of that. But for me, I'd say there are ways in which this problem can at least partially solve itself.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, I completely agree with that. The thing is with any sort of movement is it follows people that believe in the movement, and people that believe in the movement will generally donate, because if they can't be activists themselves, then they want to push forward the people that can be. And if that's the only way they can do it, that's the way they'll do it.
Okay, not so much of a question, but this is from Rabid Hyena. The problem about rights is if you give people them, they always want more. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's actually potentially a good point. There's I think in a book called Wealth, Poverty, and Politics, or something like that. It's three characters. It's by Thomas Sowell anyway. It's about the history of primarily of it talks about lots of things, but one of the things it talks about is the history of blacks in the US and their various successes and failures. And it seems that after the civil rights movement, they became less economically successful in general. Now there are many ways that you could view that, but I think it may be that extra consideration for someone could cause complacency, which is why that above all, aside from the idea of people having rights, we must stress that these rights should be consistent, except where evidentially different, like physically different, and that no groups should have extra sympathy in society to such a degree that it would affect anything significant. That's going to be very difficult to maintain, but that's the principle that's actually important here. Whether we can put something in place to actually prevent that, I'm not sure. Some sort of provision, some sort of constitutional aspect to prevent that, I'm not sure. But it's definitely something worth considering. And I don't have a finished answer for you there, but I will say that is something worth considering.
Okay, and final question from Discord, because pretty much any question that floated through chat more or less got an answer. This is also from Voice of One. Why is there no list of even proposed goals for the liberalist movement, like getting in contact with local newspapers, local politicians, etc.? Is that Sargon is going to do a few speaking events, which, let's be honest, will most likely be fans of his channel, but won't really do anything for the movement. My problem is, if there's no clear goals, then what is the point of the movement?
Well, what I'll say is that though your question is definitely a I'll say confrontational, but I'm not saying that you're being rude. It is a question that's pressing, that's trying to challenge someone to give an answer. I don't feel particularly challenged by it because I'm not the activism in question. However, what I will say is that your question is very valuable to the people who are the activists. What Sargon intends to do, either with naming his goals on the website or in doing the actual activism, I don't know the full details, and to be honest, I'm not sure he does either. I'm sure that he will continue to develop the website. As you can tell by the homepage, it's not done yet. There's going to be more on there. What we've got so far is an intent, I think, primarily. I think the movement will continue to grow from here, and criticisms like yours about the exact specific nature of it are going to be very valuable, but there isn't much I can say of much specific response to it.
Yeah, just before we carry on, I'd just like to add two little bits. I'd like to say thank you very much to Steele. You gave Ogre a very, very happy present there, and also as well to Ashley Sargonet for donating a couple of little bits to us as well. But to add to the quick question that was asked, the thing is, people have to remember that this movement, so to speak, has only actually been done in the last 2 weeks, as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm overestimating that, a week at most, maybe. But it's only weeks old at the end of the day. It's still only setting out principles, and we still, at this moment in time, are still talking about what these principles are meaning. So before you can do any sort of activism, you're going to have to find out what a manifesto part of it is. And as we've already discussed today, this is not a manifesto. This is a set of ideals or a set of principles. And we still cannot completely and utterly agree on that yet. So it will come. It will get better. It's still too early to decide that we're actually going to be doing it yet.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's moving slowly, if you perceive this as particularly slow, could be a very good thing. I don't think the way that the principles were originally constructed was the right thing to do. The way that Sargon did it was to bring in people who all sort of agreed and to just codify what they already believe. Yeah. The way I would have done it would be to build it from the ground up, from the absolute fundamentals, as if these ideas hadn't been suggested before. That would make it, firstly, it would give it a very new feel, even though it would have the same general intent of liberalism already. Yeah. And secondly, it would purify it to only the things that are the most accurate. It would allow it to generate in the fire of conflict, which I think is always the best way to get something strong. Yes. I think it's sort of going in that direction now. It didn't start that way, but the amount of criticism that Sargon's received on this page has actually made me quite glad, because it allows it to become much stronger. This is the time to strengthen it, not in a year when it's halfway down the line. We need to do that.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah, if we want to make gold pure, we don't do it by just getting the gold of the ground, like pounding with a hammer or freezing it with ice, or you can use some electrolysis if you're trying to gold plate stuff.
You send it to Jewish
the way
right?
The way we do it is with heat, as you said. We do it with heat. We put it in a crucible. I know this because, again, I'm a Jew, and we push that into the blasting furnace, and then we bring it out and we draw the dross off. I happen to know because I've done it a few times. We look down
with a P.
Crucible with a C. We look down in there.
P, I think.
We look down in there, and as we draw the dross out, how we know, Uzalu, if the gold is ready, silver too, but I've only done that a couple times. I've done it with gold a few times, is when we look down in there, draw the dross off, when we pull it back out and we look down before we draw and we can see our face. When we look down the crucible and it's a golden mirror, there's no need to draw any dross. You'd be wasting gold. And then it's time to pull it out. So as you said, I'm just seconding. And what I want to do is, because Uzalu, what we do is, in common sense, please, I think you're on the same page, but I don't want to lose this guy before I think the most important thing, common sense, you and I could agree, and that is his final thought on this. And whereas, since you may need to leave a little sooner than we do, Uzalu, I would like to do this, if I may. We have left blind justice. We have left self-reliance, blind justice, and secularism. I would be willing to talk about any of those, but I would like you to pick one of those, because I don't think we have enough time to discuss all three of these things and get your final word on this, which could be, I say on this, but your final word, which could be about this. You could say that the ogre's ugly and's got a weird beard. You could say common sense guy is a big lummox, and whatever you want, and put that in your last words. I go off the rails with that because I want you to know it could be about anything. Hopefully, and for the people that are watching you right now, Uzalu, it will be about this subject, because whether you like it or not, young man, you're young and I'm old. My time's done. It won't be long and I'll be irrelevant to the world, because once you get to be 50, 60 years old, the world don't even care what you think anymore. Your time is only now starting.
Mr. Ogre, can I jump in?
Just 1 second. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's it. Oh, go ahead. You obviously want.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm only 4 years younger than you, and I don't consider my life over.
Pipe down. So what I'm trying to say is that this is it, and this is all the time that I can suck out of this. So if you would like to pick one of these last three things: self-reliance, blind justice, and I'm saying this right, secularism. Secularism. My hillbilly mouth won't want to say that, obviously. If you would like to pick one of those, that way, when we're done with that, Uzalu, instead of just milking you for all your work, we want to have you back. We want this to be a fun experience. So if you pick one of those, we could talk about that and then give you all the time you want to kind of put a bow on this, to give us your last thoughts of maybe how this would work, how it wouldn't work, you know, all that kind of good stuff. Out there, young man. I mean, I'm very proud of you for what it's worth to you. I really am. When I look at someone like you and what you've done and the diligence you've shown on your channel, the unwavering, you say it the way that you believe, and you let the devil sort it out. And I tell you what, I can't say how much I appreciate that. So how about that, sir? Would you like to pick one of these, Uzi, and then maybe go to your final word?
Sure, I could pick one, but I've still got quarter of an hour. So
quarter of an hour left. Yeah.
I reckon I could just say a brief word on all of them if you want me to do that instead.
Man, that would be beautiful.
That's better.
In fact, if since common sense agreed, so I will shut up now. And when you're done, if you need any, what I'll do is this right here, so you can see it. I'm just going to pop this up for you, Ooze, and then you start with self-reliance. I think it's self-explanatory. I will go ahead and read it. Give us your thoughts, and we'll move on from there. I will read the next one, and so forth. Self-reliance. People possess agency and should be treated as such, because treating people like victims becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
For me, this isn't quite as much a societal principle, and I might not have put this in myself, but I think this is Sargon's response to social justice warriors. That sort of mentality. I think sort of it's also very much an American ideal, and there's certainly a lot of good liberalist principles in America uniquely. I think it's the way that you create strong people is to let them be free in an environment where they have to make it themselves. Did he put? Oh, okay, right. Okay, I think this might be because he hasn't put meritocracy in here, which was in there before. I think perhaps self-reliance is his more general term for meritocracy, which covers it and also having not having the attitude of being a victim in society. I think this is essentially his anti-Marxist principle, and you know, it's definitely a good principle. Considering if it is actually the sort of superset of meritocracy, then I retract what I said about it not being a societal thing, because that definitely is. I may have just put meritocracy, but perhaps this is a superset. So fair enough on that one. Yeah, it's a pretty obvious one. It's a positive.
Yeah, well, and just carry on to the next one. So blind justice. Blind justice. Each individual should be governed by the same laws as their peers without arbitrary discrimination, and be presumed innocent until proven guilty by a fair, and I will interject, impartial trial.
Yeah, I think impartial might be covered by fair. Maybe why he didn't put it.
Yeah, no, I'm just being redundant. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so as much as possible, the law should be focused on the truth, with the only restrictions being where a decision has to be made and you have to fall on one side or the other, which the law will sometimes have to do. If there's any distortion in the truth-finding process of the law, well, I don't really think I need to argue this point to anyone, really. I don't think anyone would argue for unjust trials, but some people might implement them in practice despite arguing for them. So I don't need to argue for the principle, but arguing for a method to maintain blind justice and holding it as some forthright principle in the minds of everyone involved with justice is definitely a worthwhile thing for society to do.
Yeah, but I think the word blind is the big thing, the thing that needs to be exaggerated, because when you look at social justice, they believe in group justice. They believe in a certain group gets special treatment in the justice system over others, depending on where you lie on the oppression hierarchy. Their collectivism poisons this very concept, is the fact that distorts that idea of blind justice, that everyone is subject to the same rules, in the same game, in the same system.
Yeah, I guess you're right, actually. Maybe this does expand to what I would call consistent application of law. Because it's not just what happens in the courthouse; it's what happens on the streets with the police and such. So, yeah, I think you're right. Perhaps this is Sargon's way of explaining, of including consistent application of law in here. So that's another good point.
And wonderful, thank you. That's why CC is here in case, because I imagine that I'll hear it later. Because although I may not, I imagine, though, Conscious Caracal, with all due respect to you, that when I first let you on, Common Sense Guy was like, what the bloody hell? But thank you so much for being cool, because you just proved my point. It is good to have many opinions. So here, I think this is the last one, Uzalu. And I'm going to say this right if it bloody kills my redneck soul. Secularism. Like secular. I mean, I was a preacher for years. I should obviously be able to just say this. Secularism. So the idea of being worldly is another way to say secular. Secularum, that's the world, it's the earth, it's the common man. So secularism, the ism, the study, the being of the world. Secularism. Everybody is free to practice their religion or not, as long as it does not interfere with the rights of others.
This, I think you could probably generalize, because religion is, though it is a very big part of societies, it's, I think, generic enough to generalize to maybe just beliefs. And I think that may just be included in either freedom of expression or individual rights. But I think the idea of pluralism in religion is definitely a good one to have. I just think for the page, you could generalize it up to something greater. But perhaps this is just here to please any sort of atheist or religious activists who want to take part in this.
Yeah, anyone that wants to pop in, I'm out. I'm just listening. So anybody that wants to pop in, he just open the floodgates.
No, I'm fine listening to Uzo. This is very interesting at the moment.
Yeah, me too. Because when you said that it was, I would, when I think about this, I would imagine that no laws would be the best, Uzi. But from what I just heard from you, are you saying that there should be some kind of laws either protecting and or compelling secularism?
No. I think the idea of secularism is that the structure of the system is not religious. So there's no particular religion being enforced, and any sort of belief or confident lack of belief in any sort of religion or deity is not being enforced either. So neither atheism nor any sort of theism are being enforced by the state. They're simply permitted to evolve and grow in a completely libertarian sense.
Yeah, in the state sphere, it's basically the separation of church and state. But then on the societal and communal sphere, it's basically that the rabble can practice any religion they want as long as they don't infringe on the rest. And I think that that will complement each other. Yeah,
I think the idea of individual rights covers the idea that the religions can't infringe on other people's rights as well. Which is why I think maybe this one. Yeah. Which is why I think maybe this part of the document could be cancelled out by others. But yeah, it's a good principle.
Yeah. No, I second that. It definitely could have been taken out and just covered under individual rights, because it just covers the same thing, doesn't it? If you want to, then go do it. It doesn't go against the ideas of the state, or infringes on anybody else, so do what you want type thing. So it goes with the idea of individual rights.
I think if you were writing this up as a more structural, more prescriptive document, you would have this under the category of individual rights anyway, and just specify, yes, this does include religion as well.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, because if you talk about secularism is denoting a religiosity, like it or not. It's saying that you are of the world. I tried to break that down without going too in depth into that. But when you talk about secularism, it is, I can't say it enough, it's a form of religiosity. You are choosing to be of the world. You could be a non-secularist and it's still, not be religious, but it's very difficult to say I'm a secular person. If you are, you're saying you adopt the mores and the norms and all of that stuff that comes with society. And like it or not, that is a form of not only
rights.
but it's also a form of ancestor worship, because where do you get these things from, Common Sense Guy? I mean, where do we get them from? You can't just say that your secular ideas sprung from secularum.
I'd suggest
you actually can, because that means society, but
I think we're actually go on.
The etymology of the word doesn't inform us too much on the beliefs of the people that it describes.
But even if it did, it's still, as we've already said, even if it's an ancestral point, or even if it's a pagan point, or even if it's I fancy my toenail, I think it's God. It doesn't matter. It still comes under individual rights,
Right.
and individual processes.
Yes, and that's what yes. Because some people want to say, I still go back. Somebody called me out the other day because I said, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And yes, I was quoting Neil Peart from the band Rush. But it's when it comes down to it, we all have a doctrinal set that we adhere to. Some people don't like to hear it put that way. But when it comes down to it, we all have something we adhere to. I myself, I tend to follow the Hopi Indians and worship my ancestors because Jews rock. That's why. And look, I'm just trying to break light because Uzalu, now I'm not going to kick you out, bro. You can stay as long as you want. But what I do want to say is I would like to let everybody, starting with Conscious Caracal, Jensen.
We do that.
No, and I'm not going to last words, but go ahead and say what you want to say. No, I wasn't going to last words. But what is it?
I was just going to say that we're going to go to last words, but I think it would be beneficial for Uzalu to be able to say whatever he wants over the last couple of bits, any points of the questions that he's already had and answered, to be able to put into a structured sentence and what he thinks could come forward from the libertarian or the liberalist ideas, as in his final words, so he can take as long as he wants.
Well, Diogo, you proposed as a joke that one of the things I could say in my last words was that you were ugly and that you had a disgusting beard or something. I wouldn't say that, of course, but what I would say is that you've picked a good name.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I work hard at maintaining it on Twitter and in other ways too, by being an absolute shit posting bastard that has no conscience or care for your feels or reels or anything else. I shit on everything that you love. Not you. I mean, that one loves. Yeah. And you too. So I guess because you'd be one. Anyway, thank you for that. Because I work hard at that, Uzalu. Really good.
Well, I don't have anything specific to say that I haven't already said. Just that I've been sort of jokingly referring to myself as a liberalist ally in the same vein of LGBT allies. Because while I don't refer to myself as one, because I think activism can affect your ability to think freely, and I'm not really interested in being an activist right now. I do support the activists because I do think activism is needed. And I may do some activism work myself, but I don't think I'll ever fully become involved in it. Plus the fact that I'm not ideologically completely a liberal is why I wouldn't necessarily call myself a liberalist, though I don't disagree with any of the principles that have been laid out as part of it. So I guess that's my position. I'm just going to be somewhat on the sidelines of the ideology and of the activism, but fairly close to the center in terms of the people. So I'm going to try to, if I can, offer valuable criticism to keep the activism, to keep the movement on track, to keep the movement to some blueprint of something positive as I see it.
Cheers.
Yeah, and I can agree with that, because the fact is, once you
I'm sorry, I spoke up too. Let him do that. And then say whatever you want, CC. You stick here. And when he's done, I shouldn't even have said cheers. So you were going to do what you just said, and then we'll all talk about it once you leave, and we'll say how cool you are. I'm sorry, CC. So Uzalu, you were saying that you wanted to put one final point with you, and go ahead, sir.
I basically finished. All I was going to say was that I think that I'm in a decent position at this point. I'm happy with where I am because I do like the people who are involved. I do like the goal. I do think something like this is necessary, but I don't want to get too deep into the mindset.
Okay, but you were saying that you wanted to make kind of an apology and that you wanted to play devil's advocate, I think is what you were saying, and give a good, a good argument for both sides. That was the last thing I heard, and it doesn't matter if that was your last. If you were done there, that's fine. Or if I or CC or anyone cut you off, so sorry, sir, but if you could finish in that vein, it would tickle my fancy.
No, I was just I was saying that I'll continue to offer criticism of the movement to try and keep it to what I consider to be a positive form. And I think I'm in a decent position to do that. And I welcome any criticism anyone has of it, though it won't really hit me. I can relay it to the relevant people. If people can't reach anyone else, then you might be able to reach them through me.
All right, and sorry, CC. Now, if you care, because I swear I thought he was about to say something profound, but apparently he was done anyway, and he said some profound things. So sorry about that, CC.
Yeah, the thought I wanted to convey is the fact that once you go full-fledged activist, you run the risk of the cause overwhelming or taking over your motivations and your actions, and you start thinking in terms of the ends justify the means, and we've seen that on all sides. Use the phrasing and the idea that the ends justify the means. And to accomplish this mission, we need to do whatever is necessary. And I think that's a very fine line to walk. Once you full on go full activist, you should never go full activist. But when you do, you definitely run the risk of your cause corrupting your motivations and actions.
Well,
Just to achieve your cause. Yeah.
I was going to say that's a very, very interesting point. It does make it ring a lot of bells. But the only thing I'd say to that is, even if you were to become a full-fledged activist, you're going for individual rights. It's not like you're trying to form a collective or anything else like that. Because even though people go, "Oh, you're trying to form a group for individuals, so you're a collectivist for individuals," no, you're just going for individual rights. So, whatever rights that you get for yourself under this activism, or full-fledged activism, is going to go for everybody, because that's what you're trying to fight for. You're fighting for everybody's individual rights. That's all I just wanted to add to that. That's all.
Yeah. I think just to add to what I said before, and because I need to go, the closing thing I say, if this movement starts to get cancerous like Kraut's cult did, I'll be long gone from it. If it starts to get beyond the point where I can control, where I can mediate it with criticism, which I really don't think is going to happen, because I think Sargon's far better at this than Kraut was, then I'll be aside from it, and I'll be beginning to publicly criticize it and expose some of the things it's been doing. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's just an ultimate end goal. I'm not going to end up being wrapped up in it if it gets really bad. Despite how much I may support the goal, if the movement gets bad, I will stop supporting it and bring to you the problems I've found, the public.
No,
just make sure Sargon hasn't got a hit list, then, Uzi.
We'll make sure we're not on it. And thank you so much, Uzi, for coming by. I'm sure we'll all say thank you in our own way now as you get ready to depart from us. And then, of course, hopefully you will maybe not watch this later, because once you leave, we'll all gloat about how cool we are for having you on. But we really appreciate you being here. Your ideas are second to none in that you speak with authority, you speak with conviction, and you seem to me, coming from someone that doesn't know you, to be at least informed on your ideas. It's not like you just pulled these out of a hat. And for that, sir, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, I'd just like to sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on.
No worries. I second exactly what Ogre just said. Thank you very much for coming on and clearing up some of the questions that I actually had as well. So I thank you very much for taking the time to come down to us and explaining a couple of little bits and pieces to us. Thank you very much for that, Uzalu.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Because you're welcome back anytime. And I followed you on Gab. I'd appreciate it if you did the same back. But you're a man of great intellect and thought, and we need more of those sort of people around. And I can only hope that somebody with your mindset will hopefully one day start influencing people at the very top, and they actually start, thinking with common sense rather than just ideological backwardness.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
I'd also like just to end, say what you mean and mean what you say, and you will start moving the world in the general right direction. Keep it up.
Yes. All right, Uzalu, as you can see, I think that was all of us. If you stay here, we'll just keep kissing your ass, and it'll be forever. We sure appreciate your time. You've been here for a solid hour and a half, and for that, we can't pay you, but we can give you our undying thanks. So hope to have you back soon, young man. Keep up the good fight, and as I always say, God save the Queen.
Sure. I'll see you guys again soon.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
I don't know. I'm not going to be the one that starts gloating. That was cool, though. Common sense once again hit it out of the bloody ballpark. Not only did we have, this was all common sense guy too, anybody that wonders. He got the guest. I pulled up a show map because we always wonder what will happen until the guest actually shows up. But the guest confirmed today, threw the show map away. This was all him. He had the topic. He got the guests. I don't have the words, but I will say I wasn't kissing his ass. I wouldn't say anything on air if I didn't believe it. Yeah, he's in my top 2 favorite. Him and On the Offensive, they're just second to none. It was such an honor to have him on here. Yeah, I quit. And you too, Quinn. You did a very good job tonight. Thank you so much, sir. You're very understated, but you do a lot for us, man. And I can't say enough to you either, sir.
No worries, no worries. Oh, should we carry on with a little bit of conversation, or what does?
Oh yeah, hell, I got a half hour, so I figured we'd bullshit a little bit.
I think I'm gonna head out as well. But thanks again for having me on, Ogre. It's always a pleasure.
No worries.
Okay.
And I'll definitely see you guys on the next stream. I'd just like to end with a quote by Mark Twain that I read the other day. In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce man, and brave, and hated, and scorned. The timid join him, but then it costs nothing to be a patriot. That was Mark Twain in 1904.
Yes, excellent.
Totally
so cheers,
agree.
guys. Walk well.
Yeah.
See you next
Thanks a
time.
lot. Hey, man, come back when we don't have such a serious thing where we can all bullshit and we can all just talk whenever we want. Sorry if I
We
got in there
definitely
and
need to
seemed
do
harsh, but
that
we
shit
gotta-
talking stream sometime soon. We need to catch up on the last 4 months.
Yeah.
I can tell you some about things going on over here on the Dark Continent.
Well, my hope is to have you and Adam on at the same time. You and Adam and Apple on at the same time. That would be a thrill to me.
We can do a proper Safa stream.
Be a thrill to my wife too, because she, as all women, love Adam and his apple.
No, he's a handsome bloke. Anyway, cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers, CC. Thank you,
care,
mate. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Look at the smoke in here. Hey, why don't I have another doobie and really just fog my wife right the hell out? She don't smoke pot, by the way.
I don't care. I'm keeping the camera on you now, Mr. Ogre. I'm very happy.
Oh,
bet
yeah,
you
I'm
will.
sure you are here. We should switch spots. Oh, look, you ran her off.
Don't believe it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to send me a cardboard cutout.
A cardboard. Well, I probably will. I'm waiting for something from you. Did you notice I put a picture up there?
Ooh,
I'm just waiting for my
Mona Lisa.
Magic Bollocks poster, but
Yeah.
I did put a picture up there until I get it. It's the Mona Lisa, in case you didn't know.
Yes. Well, it's close enough, but yes, I have the poster ready for you, Mr. Ogre, to put up at the back. I think you will like it.
Yeah, I don't think I've given you my address. You will be only the fourth person in the world that's gotten my address over the internet. And it's not that I don't trust you. It's I don't trust the internet. Because now they're saying that they're just giving out DMs. You know, Twitter, they don't give a shit. There's nothing sacred to them bastards. But I think we should probably, I'll go off on a tangent. What I really think is because did I pipe in too much tonight, Common Sense? I was just trying to help you keep it on track. I hope I didn't.
No, it was all right. It was all right.
No, I can tell. I probably did. It's so hard for me, man. It really is. I'm a control freak, if you haven't noticed. And,
no, never.
Yeah.
No, you are the perfect host, Mr. Ogre, because you know.
I don't know. I don't agree. I'm saying I'm not going to say I'm not good, but tonight I wasn't the perfect host, because if I was, I would have let my fledgling little brother just go out there and fly and would have been worried about, hey, flap your wings. Hey, man, flap that way. You know, I would have just let him do it instead of, you know, worrying about stuff too much.
What I mean by the perfect host is that you let the people in, but you also make sure that no guests just end up sat in the corner on their own, you know, twiddling their thumbs. We all had our say tonight. We all had a chance to, you know, brown tongue Uzi. And, you know, I think he probably went away with, you know, his ego probably intact, if not a little bit inflated. So, you know, that's the good thing, you see, is we like to be nice and polite. And we don't want to sound too sycophantical, because they might think, fuck, yeah, no, that's a bit much. But at the same time, I don't think we're all in here all night going, oh, absolutely, oh, I totally agree. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. No, we did ask him a few questions. We made him think. We made him, you know, dig in the back of his grey matter. So I think he did a very good job. So what we really need him to do is go out and tell all the people he knows is that was a good stream I was on. Why don't you go and speak to Ogre and Common Sense? That's what you want.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. In fact, if half of his subs just went ahead and subbed to Common Sense Guy, and then the other half come and sub to me, hell, we'd be happy as pigs in punch.
Exactly. So you don't know. I think
I am sorry to Common Sense. I know that looking back, and believe me, I think you know that I've come some way, so I'm not going to just bash myself. I will give myself a little credit. But damn it, I could have just shut up a few times. You were doing really, really, really well. So about having Uzalu, and I also want to say that if I would have shut up a couple times, I think that you would have done things that I did anyway. And thank you so much there at the end where I had a thing I was gonna do, but you caught on to it and you kind of cut it off and got it going in a better direction. So I mean, I don't know what to say, Common, other than, you know, dude, we're a good team, and I'll work harder just like you do, because that's not something you would have done before. But tonight, for whatever reason, you felt like it was the time, and you knew that it wasn't going to go in a good way if you let me ramble on, and you stopped it, nipped it in the bud, you got it back on track. And I don't know what else to say, but dude, there's not even, I won't say any names, but there's been no one else that I've trusted on this channel as much as you, and I just need to realize that and trust you as the full way all the time when you're doing it. Man, it was a great show tonight, though, Common. It really was.
It really, really was. Yeah, no, I've absolutely enjoyed it. We had good people on, and well done for inviting Conscious Caracol as well. I'm always like having him on as well, so he added to the conversation immensely. So no, I'm very, very happy with how the show's gone. I feel we could have asked a couple of more questions, but apart from that, I'm overcritical of myself anyway. So that's just the way that I am. There's always something we could have done better.
We did. Yeah, we're still streaming. We did hit him hard, though. You got to admit it. I felt the same way, though. At the end, it was like, damn it. If there was a couple times where either one of us could have cut in and said, oh, thanks, Uzi, and then, but you know what? In the end, there's nothing that could say more about our channel than Magic Bollocks, the Common Sense Guy, and the Ogre. Let people have their say and then some, right? That will let other good people come on. And it's hard for me. Having Uzi on tonight, I hope it doesn't hurt us like it has other people in the past, because we're paying for it now on this channel. And I don't want you to feel it, Common Sense Guy, because we go to your channel and start, because, oh, by the way, next Friday will be on Common Sense Guy's channel. I will be talking about it and sending links.
The new channel.
Pardon me?
The new channel. The Common Sense Guy streams live. Yeah.
Common Sense Live, yes. And I will be talking about it all week next week. There'll be no excuse for you to miss it. It will not be on my channel next Friday. And really, in all, I just completely blew it off, and Common Sense was cool. And we did want to get as many people as we could looking at it. So we were here, but we don't want to lose or gain or anything. We just want everyone that enjoys the show to remember next Friday. So it'll be Monday and Wednesday on the Ogre's channel, Fridays on Common Sense Guy's live channel. And then I'm trying to work Magic Bollocks into, you know, maybe saying yes. And then it would be Monday, me, Wednesday, Bollocks, Friday. And we just do it that way. Also, before we go on and gloat and give our last words and do whatever we're going to do as Magic Bollocks gently ogles my wife filing her nails. Yeah, don't forget tonight. I'm not sure if Mad Dodge Productions will be on. If you're wondering why I haven't been promoting it the last couple times, it's because his internet is more dodgy than mine. So if you're out there, Magic Bollocks, get on the ball, dude. And if you go,
Bollocks. Yeah, Bollocks.
Get on Mad Dodge. Sorry, what did I say? Mad Bollocks. Yeah, whatever.
He thinks we're the same person.
Mad Dodge. I get that from my mom. I'm the youngest of 8, so my mother would be like, Dina, Dillard, Carl, blah blah, and then I would be the last one. So by the time she got to me, if I was the one that did something wrong and knew it, I'd already be out of her reach. I'd be running by the time she, was naming off, and by the time I'd be gone. So sorry about that, Magic Bollocks. But you all
no, I like that. We've got a double act, the Mad Dodge Bollocks.
Mad Dodge. So that's it, boys. I won't even lie. I'm going to go to the top of the hour, and I'll be bloody out of here. So I do want to do the final words. I just want to say one more thing. Thank you so much for the super chats we've gotten tonight. Shalom to you also, Finer Prime. And I don't know. All of y'all mean the world to us. What we're shooting for right now, and they put me through hell on this super chat. I'll tell you all about it when it's all done. But every time I do the next thing, I've got the paperwork right here. I'm not going to. In fact, look, I'll just show you this. This is the paperwork for the banking account that Mrs. Ogre just set up day before yesterday. And now they want something else. So every time I do something else for super chat, for AdSense, they say it's something else. The next thing they want me to do, I will share this, is to fill out a W-9 tax form. And I'm really adverse to that. If I had known it, I would have never done this. I would have just put out PayPal's, and I'm thinking that Common Sense Guy and I and Magic Bollocks would have done better in the end if we'd have just done that. So chances are, once I get paid from AdSense, it may be off. And don't get me wrong, we'll miss it. It's really cool. It's instant gratification with the super chat, but they're screwing us, folks. They're really screwing. They're screwing right now. They're screwing Common Sense, and in the long run, they're screwing me and Magic Bollocks, because as soon as we get over the computer hurdle we've got placed, we'll just be splitting the money 3 ways. And I don't care if Magic Bollocks is a millionaire. Every dollar fucking matters, and we would like to have our dollars. That's all. So anyway, I don't know. Was that too crazy? I don't care if it was too crazy. That's what's up, and we really appreciate the super chats, but AdSense is a bitch. And so we'll see what happens. I tell you what, boys, I've got anything y'all want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pack a bowl of some super keef right here. I'm going to pack this bong swat while you all say whatever you want to say. And then in another 8 minutes, we'll give our last words. How's that sound, gentlemen?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think that the whole thing of the liberalist movement is quite a decent idea for just the point of actually the conception of it, as in actually believing the points of liberalism and actually going forward. Because we always talk about the idea of liberalism and why nobody preaches it and things like that. I mean, in the US, they have Democrats. In our country, they have the Liberal Democrats and things like that, which are supposed to be these liberalistic pies, but yet they're not. They're not. They don't have any principles of liberalism whatsoever anymore. And I think this type of movement has the potential to actually go in, not necessarily worldwide, but at least all over the westernized culture. I think it has the potential to do that. And that's the reason why I wanted to have Uzalu on and try to explain it a little bit more and try and go through it. Because I wanted Uzalu on because he's got that critical eye. I'm already invested into the point because I have a man crush on Sargon because he is my leader. No, I'm joking. But the idea of the actual movement in itself is a very good movement and a very good idea for me. What do you lot think about that? Because I know obviously everybody has their different opinions.
Oh, I'm signed up for it. That's all I'll say, because I've talked too much already tonight. Magic Box. I really want to hear from Jensen Quinn, because he's been just asking questions and he's heard this whole thing. To me, I'll sign up. To me, it sounds very much like libertarianism / capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was about to say, let's have old Quinn have a little word, because we haven't heard a peep from him all night, and I always love listening to what old Jensen's got to say.
Me? Okay, fine. In all fairness, I don't hold with any of the liberal stuff. It just it seems like it's all halfway measures, as long as everyone else is okay with it and we don't offend anybody. I'm sorry, but the whole point of government is to govern, not to stroke people's feelings, and that's my point.
That's fair enough. I don't see. I'm not trying to cause an argument or debate or anything, but I don't see where that was mentioned that we're going to be looking after people's feelings. It was more of a case of everybody has an individual right.
Yeah. Well, my own personal opinion is I'm not personally sold yet on Sargon's movement, because I've just got this horrible feeling it's going to just descend into another, even though it's supposed to be about individuality, it'll end up becoming more of a another sort of, I'm trying to think of the right word, not so much a collectiveness, but almost like a union movement. And like any movement, it will obviously be Sargon at the top to start with, but he won't be forever. Somebody else will come along and of the leader of the liberalists, and like everybody at the top, very often power will corrupt. So I'm very skeptical of any movement at the moment, and I wish him well, and I hope that he can persuade far more people who's been persuaded by socialism and communism thinking, but I won't be joining it myself anytime soon, because I just don't trust any sort of political movements at the moment. It's like if people say to me, who do you vote for these days? I said, nobody, because there's nobody worth voting for. It's going to take a lot to convince me that a particular movement is worthy of my support. But maybe he can prove me wrong. I don't know. I hope he can, but it's not happening just yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what you've just hit the nail on the head. Sargon's going to have to do, well, Sargon and his activists, so to speak, are going to have to do a lot of work to be able to persuade people, because there is a lot of shit that's in the world at this moment in time. The communists, the socialists, the alt-righters, the ethno-staters, the whatevers. And it's a case of now you've got to change their ideologies, as well as changing people that are now disillusioned with politics in general. So, no, you've hit the nail on the head there. Though it may be a good movement, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We don't know yet. It hasn't even started, as you quite rightly said before. But it's a case of maybe it's a start, maybe it's not. It's got to be the point of people changing their minds naturally, rather than people like myself trying to convince everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, maybe you can do it. I don't know. It's just, you know what it's like, common sense. It's like the weather report. You want to believe it, but you've been let down so often in the past, haven't you? So
I know, I completely agree. So when people like yourself come out and say, "Oh, it's a case of I don't know whether to follow it or not," I completely agree with you. I'm not trying to pick on Jensen Quinn. I'm using it as because he said it, where he's like, "Oh, I don't know if we're going to be stroking people's feelings and that." It's like I didn't hear anybody say anything like that. It's like as you quite rightly said, you've got to follow what's going on and make your own assumptions. I don't know. It's just weird to me on that point. It's threw me a little bit, I suppose.
no, it's all right. It's obviously you're quite passionate about it. So I suppose from your point of view, when you see somebody coming from it with less enthusiasm or maybe none at all, it does seem quite alien. I suppose it's like if you have an interest in something, a real passion, a hobby, and you meet somebody who just looks at you with disdain and thinking, what are you interested in that shit for? And you can't, it's like, but you know, this is amazing. This is the most wonderful thing in the world to me. I think that's how you're probably feeling at the moment. But
no, it's not actually, to be honest with you. I don't think it's the most amazing thing in the world. I don't think it's even the best thing anywhere. I don't even think it's the best thing politically. I don't think that at all. So I'm not coming at it from a rose-tinted glasses or anything else like that. It's just I didn't see anybody saying that they were going to stroke somebody's feelings. It was all about individualist points. That's all.
Sorry, my analogy was a bit bad there. I probably shouldn't have said. Probably the idea is that you're sold to it. Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
It was just different. And we were all different. I think
Exactly.
Magic Bollocks, the reason why I side with you sometimes is because you and I are a lot alike, kind of crazy in a good way, maybe, or bad. Who knows?
I only wish I could grow your beard, though, Mr. Ogre.
You can't grow a beard?
I can, but not as well as yours. Yours is.
Well, I can't grow hair on my head.
Yeah, but you look all man with that beard, though, don't you?
Well, yeah, but I'm just telling you. I mean, it grows out of my face, but I can't grow hair out of my head.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know.
But you can somewhere else, though, can't you, mate?
Oh, it grows everywhere but my head. It grows out of my ass, and out of my ears, out of my nose. And my beard, I trim it down to here. My beard grows right up to here if I let it. I mean, right to the bottom of my bloody eyes.
Before we get to the final words, can I just lighten the mood a little bit, boys?
Of course.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping with this. Yes, absolutely.
Something I've been meaning to tell you all evening, because obviously with Uzalu on, we were being a bit more serious. But I had this text message from my sister earlier on, because I saw my nephew the other day, and I decided to show him that his uncle was on YouTube. So I quickly showed him my channel, not thinking anything of it. And she sent me this message earlier on, and I shall read it as it is written. Massive bone to pick with you. Your nephew just said, "Hi, I'm Magic Bollocks," and said you showed it to him on the internet. So my nephew, my sister thinks that my nephew is probably seen some kind of bloody porn site or something. But no, I had to explain to her that is the name of my YouTube channel. And she's still not particularly, she's not happy with me. Because I basically said that it's my YouTube channel. I didn't teach him to say that. And she says he doesn't know what bollocks are yet.
Well, bollocks aren't necessarily that. I mean, bollocks means something in your language.
It certainly does.
It's like shit here. Shit doesn't just mean defecation. eject it. It doesn't just mean that. It means, oh shit, it means like a bad thing. And bollocks in your country. In fact, I found out from a song, you think you're the bollocks, but you're a cunt. That bollocks can also mean something.
I can't
good.
wait for Monday. I cannot wait.
I can't wait either. He is my friend. Like, we had my second favorite YouTuber on tonight, thanks to you. And Monday we'll have my favorite on the offensive. My absolute, no shit, my favorite YouTuber, man. He is badass. So anyway, and look, we're not like tight buddies. I mean, between Common Sense Guy and on the offensive, we're glad that he's here. But it's not like he's overly nice to us or anything. I mean, we're that's it. I don't know. I'm not gonna say.
Well, he's very nice and coming on. He's a very nice chap in general.
Right. Well, what I'm trying to say is we're not in love with him, but we're glad that he's on, and his content is my favorite content. That's what I was saying. I'm leaving it at that because you know me, man. Yeah. So keep it light. What were you gonna say? Let's have our final words. And Jensen Quinn, you were gonna fucking say something tonight. Bloody hell. And yes, I gave some girls a wrench out there. My wife's sitting. I've got a soft spot for females, you know that. And so Susie Monkey, I can see her there now. She had a wrench, and then there was this other girl out there. Who was that? Susie Monkey, Ashley, somebody. And the only thing I said was she was talking about wrenches and blah blah blah. And yeah, I don't like hearing belly aching from men, but yeah, some girl out there. I felt bad, so I gave her a wrench. All I said was, "I hope you're a bloody girl." And Susie seconded that. She said, "Yeah, me too." And I'm not sure what her motivation was, but we both hope she's a girl.
And you believe in equality?
Well, no, I don't. I've always said, Mrs. Ogre, do I not always say, do I want a patriarchy or matriarchy?
Matriarchy.
Yes. What we had for centuries. When women couldn't vote, we lived in a matriarchy. Oh, but women couldn't vote. Wake up and smell the coffee. If I was sitting here drinking a cold beer in front of my wife 200 years ago, she'd probably beat me in the face with a broom. She don't drink beer. She probably don't want it in her house now, but apparently women have given it up and dudes can just do what they want to do. But when I was growing up, it was still the tail end of that. And you took your shoes off, you took your hat off, you didn't cuss at the table. And because I'm telling you from experience, because you may be at a woman's house, a lady's house that you just met. She'll beat your ass. Mm-hmm. If you've got your hat on at the table, or you say, "Hey, man, them are some good damn taters." She might backhand you. Anyway, yes, we live in a patriarchy now because women gave up their position as the rightful rulers of the house and society, and life was better when it was that way.
That's brilliant. They say, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ogre Dating Channel.
Hey, that's a good idea for a show.
I tell you what, we had some beautiful advice there, boys. Remember, the first thing you say to a woman in a bar, we're going back to a matriarchy, bitch. She'll be all over you in seconds.
Yes, and I've played World of Warcraft. Let me go get a cold beer because I know that we're going to come to our final words eventually. I don't know. I doubt Mrs. Ogre will say anything. She's buffing her nails. She's whatever.
This is one of them strange things. I could just sit there and watch that all night.
Oh God, I'm leaving.
It's a little bit creepy, I know, Mrs. Ogre, but give a man his few vices in life. You must have incredibly soft fingers, though. There.
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I work with my hands a lot. I probably have. Well, they're kind of calloused. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's just what you want to tell them is you work with your hands a lot.
Well, I do.
Hey, don't worry. I wasn't thinking a thing.
Just to show you that I'm not. Just to show you that I'm not an anal prude, Common Sense Guy. I got some smoked beef from our local supermarket right here. This is smoked with wood smoke.
Nice.
Yeah. Watch this. Watch this. See how much you want. There you go. See Kyle?
Just doing it.
See Kyle? See Kyle. Look, you know what?
It's a good thing you're not in Scotland. It's a good thing you're not in Scotland.
Yeah, good girl. You see that's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Held that shit up. That's not easy for a dog to do that either because the way their shoulders are.
Yeah.
She's gonna want whatever I have to just keep it up there. Like, yeah, I'm fucking Sig Highland, bitch. Give me the food.
Yeah.
Can you teach her the goose step, though, Mr. Ogre?
How did it? What?
Can you
No.
teach her the
I
goose
probably
step?
can teach her to do that. You mean like I could teach her to do that? Lily's very smart. Give me a month.
You're on.
Remind me tomorrow too, because I've had like 4 beers. Remind me tomorrow.
Okay.
And give me a month, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Why don't you teach Chicken to do that as well?
Yeah,
She knows hand signals, man. I can tell her to sit, come, stay. What I can tell her quite a lot just with my hands and not saying a word. It's got to be a smart dog because they have to watch you, and when they don't want to listen, they can look away. Anyway, I ain't gonna get into that. Now I'm slurping in the. What is that thing? Not BDSM. That's like whips and chains. What is that where women like eat stuff in the camera? Common sense. Have you, huh?
ASM.
Oh, that's weird.
ASM.
Yeah.
What's that?
There's this girl with big old titties. And she's kind of chunky. She's kind of chunky. And it was like look at my sexy video. So I was like, what the hell? Look at her sex video. She's eating chocolate like this to the microphone. And she's right there with her titties, and all I can think of is, wow, that honest to God looks like a cow chewing its cud and sounds like.
Nice.
Now I know what you two get up to on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Oh, they've been married for such a long time. They've got to spice it up somehow.
Yeah, chewing, eating chocolate into a microphone. Mate, foreplay ain't what it used to be, hey?
I tell you what, send us one of them chocolate oranges from England.
Those are good.
From England, and you never know what we'll do on camera for you.
They're not Terry's, they're mine.
Terry's, yeah, Terry's. Those are the ones.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're called? Terry's?
Yeah, they're
what
Terry's
it's on?
chocolate orange.
Cadbury's.
Not Cadbury's. No, that
No,
was.
they're called Terry's chocolate
Terry.
orange.
Terry's,
Well, I'll
Terry's.
do you a trade then, Mr. Ogre.
Delicious.
I said, how about the Magic Bollocks poster and a box of Terry's chocolate orange for a couple of boxes of Twinkies? And what was it you said about Mrs. Ogre frying them?
No, look. In fact, I won't do it in the side chat. It's not because I don't trust Magic Ball, Jensen Quinter, or Common Sense Guys. Just because I'll send you a personal message in the way that we talk and of my address. But I tell you what, you send that Magic Bollocks poster that goes up there where Mona Lisa is right now, and I'll send you 4 boxes of Twinkies and something else. And it won't be a big rubber cock either. It'll be something cool for her to eat.
But that's what he wants.
Well, she can't proper eat a rubber cock now, can she?
No, but she can use
Chew
it.
on it a while, but she can't eat it.
Actually,
Well, we
Mr.
went
Ogre,
downhill from now on. Then.
Mr. Ogre can send me a live cock if he wanted to, couldn't he?
Well, not,
Big
not
black
Big
one.
black one. Yeah.
Real black one.
not racist. Why did it have to be black for?
It
Those
always
are the
boils down to
we love me and the missus love big black cocks.
Lovely.
They're our
Yep.
favorite.
nothing better than having a black cock waking you up at 4 a.m. Eh?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Goodness sake. Well, hey, Common Sense Guy, that'll at least warm it up for the black sperms we got on. And the good news is, I'm pretty sure Memes of Destruction, and yes, Memes of Destruction is ASMR. So weird. But I think Memes is going to do the thing, Common. And I was leaning towards just having the only real, what's it called? The only real temple on Earth? What the hell? It's on my
The
phone.
realities of Temple on Earth.
Reality's Temple on Earth. Yes, Reality. I'm going to call him Reality's Temple. I'm going to try to remember that. RT, Reality's Temple.
It doesn't matter. I
only-
disrespect him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
We've only got 2 choices: to have someone do what you were going to do, or to just let him talk for his first go. So after I talk to Memes of Destruction tomorrow, we'll figure it out. Plus, everybody listening, I almost damn forgot Magic Bollocks. You, Magic Bollocks, myself, and everyone listening. We need 5 questions. 5 questions for someone that is not a black centrist. Let's not call him black supremacist yet until he says what he is. 5 questions for someone that is not a black centrist, who would have been Common Sense Guy. It probably will be Memes of Destruction. And then we need 5 questions for someone who is a black centrist. You know, to your ears, because I've listened to a lot of his stuff. Now, at this point now, Common Sense Guy, I'm getting upwards of 7 hours of his material. For you listen to him, you may think he's a black supremacist, but he's not. I'm telling you, he's not. I've talked to him. I've been texting him. He's actually a very intelligent gentleman that may not agree with everything that Common Sense Guy and I and Magic Bollocks agree with. I can't say it any more gently than that, Common Sense Guy, but that's what it is.
Yeah, you may say he's intelligent. I have evidence to say that he's fucking not.
Yeah. Well, and to each their own. I will say this though. I will say intelligence in the way that we're talking right now is subjective common sense. It is. And with all due respect, young man, you have to say the honest truth right now, common sense, and that is that be he right or wrong, he hung in there with you in a game debate. He did. I'm not even going to say right now, we've talked in private, and there's no reason for me to say it on air. It doesn't matter who won or lost. You have to admit one thing. Whether or not you agree with anything he said or think that he's a moron for saying them, he did hang in there, didn't he?
A child would have been able to hang in there with just saying the same words over and over again, you pink person.
Well, and also I was trying to be cool, but the fact of the matter is he did ditch the stream when he thought it was just going to be you. When I intervened and it was like, because I'm a dry eye, I'm really a dry eye, and I'm going to remain that way. Magic Bollocks will be a dry eye. I mean, the last thing we want, Bollocks, is for this gentleman to come on and for people to think that we ganged up on him. We're not going to, there's no ganging up. We're going to have him on. We're going to let, in fact, now it won't even be common sense. We're going to let memes of destruction take those 5 questions we're asking. Please give them in Discord. Jensen Quinn's still here. He'll tell you. He'll sift through them, and I'll sift through them. We'll look through them. Leave them to me on any video on this video. Give them to me on Twitter. Give them to Common Sense Guy, of course. Give them to Magic Bollocks on Discord. I don't know why you'd bother him. You'd already be there with Jensen Quinn, unless you were just digging for him to like you because he's so cool. So anyway, hey, look, boys, that was a lot of housekeeping, and I would go on and on forever. It's Friday night. We don't have this time, Magic Bollocks, and this is why I'm just gouging it. A, I know you're staring intently at my wife, and B,
yes,
most nights you got work the next day.
Yes, I can still stay up all night and stay out with your wife, and I'll still get up in the morning.
He's already up now.
I don't even know what your wife sounds like, looks like, but just talking to her the other night, I don't know. There's people that are ladies, man. Maybe we're misunderstood. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's a filthy dog that would hump my wife when I wasn't looking, but who knows? Those English, you can never trust the English.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Never trust the English.
Yeah.
Now look what they did at Bunker Hill.
We are, as I say, underpaid, undersexed, but give us a couple of quid and we'll be over there.
All right. So I tell you what, you're not getting out of this either, Jensen Quinn. You're going to give your final word. Is there any housekeeping for Discord? I don't think we got much going on over there that people don't know about. Go check it out. Get through there. Get in there. If you can't get a hold of me by direct message or something, go find Jensen Quinn. He knows how to get a hold of me, and he also knows that sometimes it takes a day. But if you want to get a hold of me faster than a day, you're going to have to know Common Sense Guy, because usually with him, it's at the most 12 hours. I tell you what, boys, I just fell off the earth yesterday at RPR. I did a stream there. You were on in the morning, right? Common Sense. I went longer than I'd planned. I went for almost 3.5 hours. As soon as I got off, struck down worldwide. If they're going to monetize it because I played songs, I understand that, Common Sense. But that was a great stream. Luckily, I was recording it on XSplit. I didn't even know, because I do it typing. I hit hotkeys I don't know I'm hitting. So that was recorded, to make a long story short. So I will be able to at least cut out, because you know what I'm talking about. You came there with the Ziz, and we had a really good conversation for about a half hour. And the rest of it, I mean, it was fun and stuff, but it was bollocks. I wanted to just dump it, get the best of, and anyway. Google strikes again.
Yep. I played that Papa Roach song. All I did was play the lyrics. So I didn't even play a video or anything else like that, and it's already copyrighted. It's already got a strike.
Those you want to worry about, especially video. That's why that day I don't want to go too long with my diatribe, but don't worry about the ones where it says it's monetized. You know, you got a copyright, not a strike. What do you call it? Warning, notification, something like that.
No, it is a copyright strike.
Is it a strike? Let me look at my. I'm gonna just.
Yeah,
get
it's a
into
copyright strike. The one that's bad is the community strike, but the other one is a copyright strike.
Okay, no, copyright claim. If you got a strike, you won't be able to stream.
Yeah, well, I still can't.
Here, look, I can show you this right here. There's nothing I don't think docs. I mean, if there is, I guess it's my ass. But it says right here, "Hi, Ogre. A copyright owner using content ID claimed some material in your video," and it calls it right here a copyright claim. I mean, and now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you didn't get a strike, but I've never got a copyright strike. I've gotten lots of copyright claims. This last week, I've gotten over 100. The one video I did, I got 25.
What was that for then, Mr. Ogre?
Well, every time I play a song, you watch, right? You even said I'm miming. I'm out here, you know, doing a jig.
That's some of your best
like, every song I share with you, that's a copyright claim. They go and they turn the ad revenue on, and they take the money.
Oh, I see. Right. So if you didn't monetize it, they wouldn't strike you. Is that it?
No, I don't have anything monetized, only the super chat. No, it's not. No, It wouldn't matter what you had. They'd still get it. But what I'm worried about is like this last time, it was, I got to remember, "Let There Be Rock" by AC/DC. And there's one other. I even took it down. I need to write these down. There was one other. But when I played that "Let There Be Rock," that struck it down worldwide. They didn't just monetize it. They said this is a copyright claim, and the action we're taking is, a lot of times it says monetize the video. This one says blocked worldwide. And so that means whatever it was, and don't get me wrong, in the short streams that I do by myself when you lot aren't there, I don't get a ton of views. I mean, there might be at the tops 15 people there. There's usually about somewhere between 6 and 12 people, but there are hardcore folks. There are actual, really our core that will tell other people, that will, you know, there are hardcore. And so they watch, and then the other hardcore that waits till it's all loaded up and they're driving to work or whatever they're doing, they can't see that. You get it? Because they now take it down worldwide. And anyway, I mean, it's all a battle to me. And that's like, what can I do? Sleek the Geek was trying to help me, and he thought it might be like $40, which was what it costs in America if you're a bar and you got a jukebox. Yeah. You're paying $40 a year because you're playing music and everybody can hear it, right? And you're charging them to put money in the jukebox. So you pay your $40. It was like $2,500, and there was 7 or 8 different entities that wanted that $2,500. AMC, you know, I mean, all the different copyright places. And it was like, holy fuck. Because I thought, oh, if it's like $40, $50, of course I'd do what we're doing with Common Sense's computer. He's working hard on here. We'd ask for, look, this is going long and it feels weird. I'll tell y'all all about this shit if you want to later, but I've got some people here that want to give their last words, and I just realized I'm on a drunken diatribe.
Well, I was going to show you the community guideline status and everything else like that. And I have just literally just found out that I am now allowed to live stream on my actual proper channel. I'm actually allowed to live stream again. On my
now you're going to do that on Friday, then on the big channel, right?
On my proper channel, yes.
Yeah. But at least you got it, because I got a backup too, Common. I got a backup. I think you know that.
Yeah. Just
in case. But boy, it's bloody hell. Look at all the work you put in it to get to a little over 200 right now, and to get, because I guarantee you, bro. Mark my words. Look, I don't want to jinx this. I will just say this. I don't think that the numbers will be drastically different on Friday. I really don't. We'll turn on, because, I mean, just look at our videos. When you look at videos I put up, they're not, the numbers are not, they don't reflect over 1,000. They don't reflect that. So I think we'll do just fine.
Oh, mine definitely don't reflect my things. My last no bullshit video has gone up to 104. The other 178. The 2 live stream things of 38 and 22 respectively.
Well, you've got several over 1,000.
I've got a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple.
Oh, don't be humble. I'll pull them up and name them. You've got several. You had some that were over 1,000. You had a couple that were over 2,000 before you had 50 viewers, 50 subs.
Yeah. I was just lucky in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Oh shucks, shuffle the ground. No, you kick ass. You get good commentary. Worked out good. But anyway, yeah, let's look. You got to popular uploads. Big Mouth, the coming rant vid, 2,100. Big Mouth, what the fuck, 1,700. Amos Lee doesn't understand. I think I said his name wrong. Free speech, 1,400. Should I go on? Ashley Shackelford, 1,300.
Yeah, that's a couple.
Coach Red Pill, 397. I mean, you've got at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3. You have 4 videos over 1,000 on a channel that has 204 subs. If that isn't bragging rights, I'm not quite sure what it is.
It's only a couple. It's fine.
Yeah. No, you do well. You do well. I enjoy your stuff, man. You know, I have to say right now, after On the Offensive and Uzalu, because I listen to them every day. I really shouldn't go on about it but I do like those two. But after that, man, I go to the Common Sense guy. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done advertising for people. I already said 2 people in the crew anyway. Tell them they'll do fine. But I've got my people I enjoy. You're one of them. I know. I'm hauling wood. Sometimes you don't know it, Common Sense. But sometimes I'm looking around at logs I've bucked up into 7-foot sections, and now I need to go cut them into 16-inch pieces, and I'm ready to just call her quits, man. The trailer's got half a load on it. I'm just like, well, that's enough for today. I won't burn it today. Because, of course, if I at least get enough wood to burn for the day, I'm ahead, right? I always try to get
exactly, yeah.
But sometimes I'll put you on. I'll get my phone out, get my connection up, and I'll put on one of your rants. And I don't know. Is that the right word to use? Rants or introspective videos? You know, one of the videos where you're talking about something.
I call them opinion. I call them opinion videos myself, but I don't know what they're actually called properly.
Well, shit, man. You might as well have helped me haul that wood because it really does. Sorry, Jensen, you never say nothing. I just realized I was talking when you were. I seen your voice going.
I'm just saying, you should call them rants and rambles.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we can talk Magic Bollocks into doing that one day. And I tell you what, folks, now as Mrs. Ogre is back there so interested in what we're doing that she's texting someone.
You don't need to talk me into it.
I don't know. Texting. She's there to whatever. She's got like a big phone. And so she's...
Oh, hang on. I've just had a text message from someone.
Oh,
I love you. Oh, who's this?
Here we go.
No, you don't have to talk.
Hey, but can we go for like another 25, 30 minutes?
Of course we can.
Well, I was kind of wondering this last week, boys, before we give our last word, just to keep this going, and let's start with Jensen Quinn. Put him on the hook here. What was the most not important, or what story, what news article, what thing happened in the world that got your attention the most? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. I would actually, the thing I'd be interested in finding out about is this bloody oh crap, what's the word? Sorry, I apologize for swearing there. There's this whole thing going on in America about the oh my god, my brain. Okay, go to someone else. My brain's gone dead. I apologize.
Oh well, I'll give Quinn a couple of minutes. The thing I was most interested in was the fake news awards.
I looked for them today before I hauled wood, but I didn't actually. So did I hate to cut in too, but did Trump actually give them? I didn't. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's actually on the GOP website. Hang on, I will try and find you a link now, Mr. Ogre, if you two just want to fill the dead air for a sec.
Oh, we'll watch it too, man, because Mrs. Ogre will tell you, I got it out, but every link I got to the fake news, it was just them showing old stuff and Trump combating it. Because, you know, they hate, I don't know why, man, I almost named a name. I don't know why some of my friends hate Trump, when if it was them or me or someone they liked doing the same thing, they'd be right behind him.
Yeah.
But because it's Trump defending himself, they hate his guts. They're mind controlled, folks. I'm convinced of that.
Mind control.
MK Ultra.
I'm convinced of that. Common sense. It's like your Brexit mate. How do you and I have talked, me and Cabbage Patch have talked, and you and Cabbage Patch are the two Brits I know that were like solid, full-on Brexiteers, man. And it's like both of you have told me the same thing. I don't get it. My countrymen, it's like they're bloody brainwashed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can't really argue that point because I've said that countless times. How can you say and sit there that you're going to argue for a democracy, as in another country controlling you under democracy where you can't vote for the people controlling you, but yet you're going to say and sit there that that's democratic? I've never understood that. I never understood the level of either idiocy or, as you said, brain control, mind control, that is telling them that's what's going to happen. I've never understood that, ever.
Okay,
it
I finally
shows.
have my brain working again.
Oh,
Go ahead,
yep.
Quinn.
Okay, sorry about that. The thing I was trying to say was about the hashtag release the memo. Now, that is something I would be very interested to get information on.
Now, we haven't even talked about that tonight. What the hell are you talking about, Jensen Quinn? Because I was supposed to bring that up, but it didn't get brought up. So tell everybody what you mean by that, because that is the most important fucking thing happening right now. Excuse my French.
Well, apparently there's a memo that's detailing a lot of the Clinton, Trump, Russian problems, and it looks like the fingers are being pointed at the Clinton camp firmly, which means that they were involved in paying the Russians for the information, etc. Problem is your government doesn't seem to want to release the memo, and that, I think, is wrong. To someone else.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about it. Has anyone else here heard about that? Bollocks, have you, or Sense, have y'all heard about that?
I've heard little bits and pieces about it. I've seen Stephen King being tweeting about it and things like that. I've seen.
Oh, I wish he'd shut up. I love him, man. And I've got Mrs. Ogre. Whose books do we have from?
Got a lot of them.
I don't even. Just carry on. Jackass. I wish he'd shut the fuck up. How can a guy that writes the shit that he writes start? Oh man, just.
It's funny that you speak about books. I had to get books out yesterday, Wednesday, for my little class, and all of them are hardbacks, and all of them are over 200 pages long, well over 200 pages long, and in the smallest, probably like eight size for reading in text. And I've got 8 of them out, and I'm only allowed to have 7. But I begged the librarian to let me have 8 so I could have all of them at once.
I used to like to read too, but now I take the easy way out and listen to audiobooks. But you sound like I was a few years ago. Love books. It is good to hold a book in your hand, though, isn't it? Smell the paper and to read.
I'm quite like you. I quite like audio, but the books that I'm supposed to use for the course, they don't have any sort of form of audio books. So that's good. I can always find the books on an internet site that they have for the college and have them as a PDF file, and then download them to the computer, and then select all of them, and then ask Katana to read it all to me. But then I think that's defeating the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I did something that's out of character for me. I just sent the link to here out in the chat. If you got something that you could come on and got something to say, and just because I just asked a question, that was a great one too. The memo, I've got something in my mind. I want to go down the line. If you got something that you could do, because I just said a half hour, that was about 5 minutes ago. We got 25 minutes before we give our last words. Not asking any of you lot in the peanut gallery to come give your last words either. We don't really care what you got to say or want you to come do that, with all due respect. And by that, I mean, piss off. But if you got something that you've heard this last week that is burning, your mind, either give us, out there, or Susie Monkey, I'm looking at you. If you want to let this be the night that you pop your cherry, come on in. So we got memes of destruction already in here. What is it this week that's got your goat, man? What's got you thinking, memes? He'll be with
What's going on, guys?
Good to see you, brother.
Hi,
Hey, memes.
How we all doing? So yeah, that memo thing that seems very interesting. I'm hearing about this, and you're seeing a lot of Republican senators, since all the Democrats unanimously voted against it, basically coming on saying, yeah, the American folks need to see this, because again, just like President Trump, the intelligence committees feel there is high likelihood that the Russians moderate confidence that the Russians interfere with the election. There seems to be a very large preponderance of evidence as of some point during 2015 when the current president decided to run. Yeah, the U.S. government was spying on him.
Yeah, pretty much. And all from the Clintons. Amazing, that, isn't it? Absolutely amazing that somebody like the Clintons would pay people to spy on the nation and make sure that they get more power. Interesting, that, isn't it? How they would lie and cheat to get more power.
That would never happen.
Never.
But if it were, here's the thing, guys. It's just, you look at it and it's like, all right, after the election, after he said he would put her in jail, he even went around saying, we don't really want to put her in jail while folks are chanting lock her up at rallies. So he's kind of trying to dismiss it. And then she has to attack him. She has to justify how she lost. So they continue on throwing more and more mud at him. So he's like, well, you're going to throw mud at me? I'll throw it back. And by the way, I am the fucking president of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep. Isn't it so nice to see, the Clintons finally being put in the place they deserve to be? And I don't just mean behind fucking bars either.
But it could have been avoided. She just had to stay in the woods. Just leave folks alone. She had to poke the bear.
Memes. That's not old Hillary style, is it? I think this is probably the first time in her whole session up the greasy pole that she's really taken a massive defeat like that. Even when she was dragged in front of Congress, over Libya, she even that wasn't really a fall. But I mean, this, the actual defeat of the, heir to the crown that she thought she was entitled to. There's a few days in my life I will always treasure. Obviously, waking up on June 27th and realizing that we had Brexit, finding out Trump had won. But the main one was seeing Clinton at that doing that speech in the purple colored suit that both her and Bill were wearing. Oh, he was wearing the purple tie, and just you could see on her face the reality of something she'd never had to have before, and it was very satisfying. And I think there was millions of people around the world at that particular moment thinking, "Good, suffer you fucking bitch."
Schadenfreude.
Nice. But to be fair, though, it is well deserved and well said.
Exactly.
All the things that are linked. I can't say this is definitive because I don't want to die. But all the things that are linked. All the things that are linked to the Clintons, every single one of the Clintons, is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So many people have disintegrated, died, fell out of planes, died on planes, got shot in their houses, got decapitated at their houses.
A few of them accidentally shot themselves in the back, didn't they?
Yeah. Some of them accidentally shot their wives and shot themselves as well at the same time, which is amazing. With the same gun.
The most common way. It's the most common way to die if you've ever crossed the Clintons.
It is. Or fires. They're quite regular.
Yeah, I've seen in fiction occasionally when people commit suicide, they'll put it to the head. Totally unrealistic. No, you always aim for your spinal cord, don't you?
Exactly. You put the gun all the way back around, like you're pretending that somebody else is doing it.
Yeah, if you're going to kill yourself for common sense, you're thinking, well, that's a bit boring. I'll just write it off as suicide. Let's see if I can get a conspiracy going.
Exactly.
Oh, dear. Since we're on the subject of interesting things we've seen this week, and I just remembered it, has everybody seen Jordan Peterson's interview with Kathy Newman?
You've just seen that in the chat.
No. I was just looking through one of the forums I frequent, and I just saw it. I didn't realize somebody put it in the chat, but I just thought, yes.
Somebody called Rob. Somebody called Rob did it. I watched it on Sargon's channel, actually. Sargon did a bit about it. I was actually going to do it as one of my videos for today. I was going to respond to her instead of Jordan Peterson. But no, Jordan Peterson absolutely destroys her. Absolutely destroys her.
It's very satisfying to see. I can't watch that woman because, again, she just refrates the shit out of me. The only other interview I've ever really seen her do was with Milo. And that was one of the most cringy things I've ever seen in my life, because she wouldn't let Milo speak, kept interrupting, even though he was quite rightly dismantling all her arguments. But the best bit was right at the very end, where she has to say, Milo Yiannopoulos, what's it called, there, or whatever, and just the scowl on her face, like, she's just been licking piss off a nettle or something. She just, the very thought that she's had to interview Milo, and it's just, oh, you arrogant bitch. But with Jordan, the best thing about it was he never got angry, he never got heated, he stayed calm, and he was so nice to her. Yeah,
he laughed a lot.
Yeah, he was so nice to her. And I think that's the thing.
The laughing was a bit patronising on purpose, as in when he was being asked some stupid questions to the point of, why does your freedom of speech trump my right to be offended? And it's just like, did you miss that?
That was a quote-unquote red pill moment there. I think it's right at like 22 minutes in. For that 30 seconds, it's excellent.
Well, apparently afterwards, he put on Twitter to, at Kathy Newman, thanks very much for the debate and for putting it out unedited. And she basically wrote back and said, I had a great battle with you and all that. And afterwards, he put, I think she was flirting with me in her own unique way.
Oh, bless him. Bless him.
No comeback to that. But that was very, very satisfying. I don't think you can really change somebody that militant mind. She will always have.
How she thought that was a battle, though. It wasn't a battle; it was a massacre.
Yeah,
I thought she was a Canadian journalist. When I first heard her, I figured, all right, Jordan Peterson, he's going out, he's promoting his book in Canada. I found out after there was actually a UK interview, and I had no idea what this gal was. I'm like, all right, she's being very firm with a figure that some folks would consider controversial. I'm like, she was asking points, but she had to concede when he got her.
Yeah, yes. A couple of times she had to concede, especially about the wage gap. She had to change her premise 3 times.
Yep. The Channel 4, is in our country
are the most leftist organisation ever in the UK.
I know,
is socialist and Marxist openly.
And the saddest thing is only up until a few years ago they were a very good channel. They used to put out some very good programming, but now the channel is basically unwatchable if you don't believe in Marxist ideology. All the shit that they put out. They even put out a program last year that was basically saying that Muslims can effectively do no wrong, and that extremist Muslims are only driven to it because of our oppression and all this crap. Yep. And their news program now is absolutely diabolical with that sort of, all the presenters are all far left. Even
did you know that your Mr. Snow is actually a member of the Socialist Party?
Yeah, the one who was at Glastonbury last year shouting "fuck the Tories," wasn't he?
That's the one.
Yep.
See, I didn't know Channel 4 was that biased. I just figured, I'm like, all right, standard news show. I'm like, wow, she's being very pressing. He even gave her that, and it just completely proved his point.
Yeah, it's a state-owned broadcaster, just like the BBC. The only difference is it's not funded from the license fee.
Well, the CBC, the BBC, all that. Oh, thank you so much, Point. We did so good today. Common sense. It's going to be hard to give up this. We'll talk about it. Once I jump through all their bloody hoops, I probably won't turn it off. But thank you so much, Point. That gives us, we've been shooting for $5 a show. And with your contribution, that puts us up to 12 quid.
Wow.
Show. So I can't say enough. That's so wonderful.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Magic Bollocks and I are dying for this to be over with, because as soon as the bloody computer's paid for, we can actually make some money. But we have our priorities straight. We do. And we all are on board with that. So just a jolly joke. Hope everyone gets it. I know common sense does. So anyway, man, I've got some time. Now we got memes of destruction on here. I'm going to fucking stick in here until the bloody British men are done, because it's later there than it is here. And I ain't going to be the pussy.
I'm surprised that now
when you're done, you let me know when the last word will be, and I'll just hang out with Mrs. Ogre like we are right now until you say something.
I'm surprised that actually we've had more people come in with you putting the link out in the chat. I would have hoped they'd all piled in.
I really want Susie
I went out to
Monkey.
stoke the furnace, and when I left, Wood was here. When I come back, he's gone. Did he say anything, or did he just leave?
No, he left like normal.
Wood is great.
Nobody wants to compete with magic bullets over Mrs. Ogre.
Exactly.
Well,
They're all afraid of him.
They'll get beaten out of the way. I'm at the front of that queue.
That's right. While you're all fighting over Mrs. Ogre, I want Mrs. Monkey to come in. Come on, Susie Monkey, come in.
But no, what about me?
Yeah, you're there. Nobody can get past you. That's why it's one Susie
Ogre, you have
Monkey.
too many layers.
Filthy bastards.
Come on, Susie Monkey, come in. We want you.
Oh yeah, that'd be fine if Susie. We were not just saying it. Common sense guy. So many people. I'm going to try not to call people by the wrong name.
Are you my competition, Susie?
No. Oh no, and I mean maybe, but no.
Maybe.
But,
hang
but
on. Didn't you say before you wouldn't allow a sex robot into your house? If Susie comes on,
boy, you just won't let up on that, will you, bollocks?
never. She's stuck with it now. She's pure PVC to me.
Way back to when he did the promo.
Bless her.
Inside joke.
Yes.
Come on, Susie. Come on.
She's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
See, if not,
Come on in,
sometime
Susie.
we would like to have you on. You know, as a guest, and we'll be so gentle with you, it'll be over before you know it.
It'd be like your first time all over again.
Well, now,
Yeah.
point
Over
out-
too quickly and very disappointing.
Exactly.
No, but we'll be gentle. You know, we'll have a topic that you'll know about the whole 9 yards. I just know that Susie Monkey would like to come on sometime. Although I'm going to just quiet down, like I said, and revel in the fact that Memes of Destruction, Jensen Quinn are here with my two. To me, it's almost like a foreigner with you here, Memes, because I was thinking earlier we had Uzalu, we had Jensen Quinn, we had Common Sense Guy and Bollocks, and then Conscious Caracal. I was the only American. But with you here, with that accent you got, shit, it's just like if you were from another country.
We Bostonians are a different breed.
Yeah, okay, we were talking about that. We were wondering because I had you pegged for north of Boston. I said,
Well,
maybe
you are actually correct. It is completely north of Boston. It's funny because I was actually speaking with I think Mole the other day on the Red Eye, and he actually has friend in the town I live in. It's such a small world, man. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and we don't want to dox you or anything, but I did guess that. Tell me how close I am. I did guess that you were probably about 65 to 70 miles north of Boston.
Yeah, about half that, but
Okay.
otherwise you're correct.
But you're on the north side. It's easy for people that have been around there. It's so easy to pick out Long Island from Boston to Maine to all that. It starts to come to where you can hear that difference. One thing we can say is that the foulest, most odious human beings on God's earth are from New England. The kind of people that when you're walking down the sidewalk, we've done this. When you're walking down the sidewalk and they're coming at you, Mrs. Ogre, what do?
They'll step off the sidewalk and walk around a vehicle.
Exactly.
Yeah, but how do they look at
Do
you
not
when they
make
do that?
eye
Do they
contact.
yeah, we did. We made eye contact and waved, right?
Yes.
You ruined the first rule of New England.
Wow.
Tell us.
Well, here's the thing. I'm kind of an outlier there because I'll go around, I'll wave at freaking everybody. I don't care.
Oh, you must be an outlier. Oh, Lord.
No, it's like when you go down south, like a lot of my friends that moved to different parts of the country, it's like the folks down there, they'll say it's like, why do folks seem so unfriendly? It's like, no, we're busy, we muddle around and we do our thing.
Yeah, don't want to be
Well, they call
bothered.
it New England.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but they give you the stink eye. while
Yeah,
you're
and we
at
could
it.
but
Well, we're just not used to it.
Mrs. Ogre knows the answer to this question, but when your friends go down south and now let's say they're in Carthage, North Carolina, and they're going down the road, and you know how they all wave at you, Memes? They're like, you know what that means, right? They're saying like this, I'd fuck you too. Oh, yeah, I'd rob you if I got
Isn't that how you say you love someone?
I'd fuck your old lady if you weren't looking. I mean, that's all just a facade. When it comes to business, the most trustworthy people I've ever met are in where you're from. Period.
There's some good folks, there's some bad folks, dude. It's just like anywhere else in the world. There's always, I stand by most folks are good people, but just because you're a good person doesn't mean you don't do stupid shit.
Yeah, you ain't lived in Florida, have you?
I visited Florida.
The fucking
leave that up
scoundrels
for another time.
There's some scoundrels down there. It's like where all the scoundrels go to. Yeah, anyway, whatever. But it is something to me that when we associate, because we've done a lot of business in that area of the world too. So we associate New England with two things. Don't make eye contact, as you said, and don't expect a lot of, hey, how you doing? It's nice weather, isn't it? And but expect prompt, quick service. It might not be courteous, but prompt, quick service, and expect to make money. That's what
we hustle. We hustle. We do like to bust our butts and everything. We will talk smack and everything, but we'll do everything we can, even if we're down. We'll just keep on going. But it's one of those things where, again, it does go both ways, but it's an interesting place. It's an interesting place. It's one of the things is they do say that we're not the friendliest folks, which is true, but we're genuine folks. We'll tell you how we feel.
Best way of being, to be fair, mate. Best way of being.
What, Mrs. Ogre?
I said, you seem friendly enough, Memes.
That's our trick. We lure you into a false sense of security.
What it is just your internet persona.
I thought she was just trying to get Magic Bollocks to hate you.
Oh, she could never do that. We all know about them.
No, he's back there. He's like, she spoke to him. I can't even do it. I can't do his voice.
Well, part of it is I kind of had to be kind of green-pilled in a way because I have worked for large companies doing door-to-door sales in New England. And let's just say that's a different type of beast.
I worked for the largest company in the universe doing door-to-door sales, didn't I, Mrs. Ogre?
Oh, Agway?
Yeah. No. God.
Oh, I see what you did there. Correct, sir.
Wow. Yeah, it was the worst job I ever had in some ways and the best in others. But I started out as a coal porter, which means the guy that knocks on your door and says, hey, how you doing today? Would you like to buy this Bible and or this set of children's books for your children?
Hey, at least you were bringing God to people, man. For me, I was showing up at ex-customers' houses that went with a competitor to try to win them back. So not only had we pissed the person off, we were going there basically begging to have them back.
Yeah. That's almost as bad. That's almost as bad. So what we could say is you probably had as many sprinklers turned on and dogs set on you as I have me.
I've had folks say it's like, oh, hold on, let me go get my gun, stuff like that, and then the wife will be like, oh, he's just joking, he's not that drunk.
Wow.
Well, as we're going down on this sort of subject of craziness, I'm going to get off because I'm going to watch Vegan Games versus JF on NBC.
Oh, that's it then. That's it. So before you go, give us your final word and let's wrap this shit up, boys. We won't make common sense wait. Just tell us what you think right here, and we'll go in that order. So, common sense, you got a bail. Rock and roll, man. Take your time, say your last word, and we'll go down the list. I'll give it when he's done.
Sure. My final word is liberalist.
Cheers, mate. Liberalist.
Good thinking, man.
And I'm not even kidding. We're gonna shut it down now. My bro's leaving. It's all done. It means it's time to go. So since that's it, liberalist, we're gonna go Jensen Quinn. Memes of Destruction, Magic Bollocks. I'll wrap it up. Hopefully, we'll all keep it kind of brief like that. Hey, man, I don't know what to say. Common sense guy. Once again, you hit a home run. What a great guest. Look out for Monday. We should have On the Offensive. Once again, thanks to the Common Sense guy. It will be another police state. And, maybe we'll keep it a little tighter than this one was at the end. Maybe we won't. But thanks so much, Common Sense.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify as well, on Monday, the topic is going to be how the internet seems to be going to the right and what On the Offensive feels and thinks about that, and obviously questions from the chat. So that will be the topic for Monday if we have On the Offensive on, rather, if he comes, obviously, because the time difference is obviously a hell of a lot different back there. But that will be the topic for Monday. How the internet seems to be going to the right and how we all feel about that. And is the pendulum going to start shifting that way in real life as well? Because obviously the internet seems to be a precursor. So we'll see what happens. So
cheers, mate. God
bye
save
for
the
now.
Queen.
Yeah, bye for now.
Ta-da.
Bye.
All right, boys. Let's not cheapen that, man. It's been fun. We did have a good bullshit session. We got to do this every Friday, Magic Bollocks, because we got you the longest time on Friday. So let's do it. Just like I said, Jensen Quinn, give us something's on your mind. Great topic you brought up too. I mean, obviously it made memes just hurry up and get right in here. The whole hiding the memo. So final words, gentlemen, keep it 5 minutes or less. Say anything you want. No one will interrupt you. I will wrap us up. Jensen Quinn, Memes of Destruction, Magic Bollocks, and the Ogre.
Okay, mine won't take that long. Mine's very simple. People like to say about the matriarchy, I will remind them that England is ruled by a queen and our prime minister is a woman. So anyone want to complain about the matriarchy? I think we've got this covered. Someone else's go.
Cheers. Thank you, brother. Memes.
All right, then. So plenty of stuff going on in the world, but again, we need to get back and just realize we're all human beings on this great big blue rock hurtling through the cosmos. We're more similar than we are different, but we do each have our own unique life experience that we live. And again, I stand by that most folks are good people, but even if you're a good person, we all mess up. And we also need to factor in most folks tend to act in their own self-interest. Those are pretty much my standard tenets of how I look at humanity and everything. So I go with that, and most things kind of usually explain themselves. So that's it for me.
Well said, mate.
Oh, my go. Right. I think I'm going to keep this reasonably short for me, which will be about half an hour.
Thank goodness they were going so short. I thought I was going to be the only one that really had a breathful.
I think after tonight's little, little show that we put on for you people out there, is even though this show can get very serious at times, and we can, be very, very serious about ideology and political persuasion, and whether you lean to the left or the right. The one thing you must always remember, though, is that we still aim to entertain you all, and that's why you can never quite pin down what the Ogre Show really is. It is like a pick-a-mix. We throw a little bit of everything in there because we started off quite serious and we ended up as just complete shit posters. And that's what I like about Mr. Ogre's channel, is the fact you never quite know what you're going to get. 1 week in your pick-a-mix bag, you might get a white nationalist, and the week later you might get a hardline black supremacist who claims that he's actually a charity worker, but I suspect is actually nothing but a bullshitting bastard. But we shall find out shortly. Or you might end up with a very well-known, a very lovable YouTuber coming on. You might end up with a YouTuber that nobody's ever heard of. Most of the time that's me, because most of the people they end up having on, I haven't actually subscribed to. But I should thank Mr. Ogre. Because of him, I've become a big fan of Razor Fists, and thank you for that. But my main advice to everybody out there is continue with your lives, enjoy your lives, and have the best life you can. Myself, personally, I have only one goal at the moment, and that's to carry on staring at Mrs. Ogre for as long as she's on camera. And I must say I'm enjoying every minute of it. So anyway, you in the chat, take care of yourself, you silly bastards. To Mr. Ogre, you are the king of streams, mate. Long may it continue. And to my fellow panelists, Godspeed.
Cheers, cheers. Thank you for that, Magic Box. I have at least what you did, maybe another 4 minutes, but it's because, I'm a blowhard. And I got to say this, it is good to be married to a beautiful woman that no matter how old I seem to get, she seems to perpetually hover somewhere around 24. I won't tell you how old she is, but it's probably quite a bit older than you think. Well, that wasn't me no favors saying it that way. I don't know, but that is the truth. So some of us get lucky, some of us don't. I gotta say this, memes of destruction, you bloody ruined it for me, man. Mrs. Ogre and I was here saying life is life. I said, how should I open it up? Because of course I'm muted while they're talking. I said, how should I open it up, Mrs. Ogre? By saying life is like a box of chocolates. Because then I don't know if you get that magic box. That's just, it was a good reference. Memes of destruction, and it was a good point that brilliant minds think alike. So look for memes, and just a yes or no. If you get the questions and they're amenable, will you be available this Sunday to have a civil discussion, Oxford rules with a black supremacist memes?
Hey, as long as the time works, like I said, I'm down.
Yeah, I thought you'd be fine, and I just wanted everybody to hear you say that. And I picked you. Not because we're any special friends. I just met you. Not because I owe you any favors. I just met you. You don't owe me anything. It's nothing like that. It's because the little that I do know about you, I don't want I didn't ask Bollocks because me and Bollocks don't want none of this, man. We get enough mud on us already. We're the dirty uncles in the chat already. So why do we want to go and be the guys that actually like have a debate with a black supremacist? We're not going to do that. Okay. We're going to leave that to you. But of the people that I've observed outside of our co-host, the Common Sense Guy, and you're the best for the job. And it is.
Well, to be fair, it's also the most ironic in that you're picking the guy that has a blue eyes white dragon as his avatar.
Well, no, if you remember, we were on a stream and it's like the last holdout that still wants to debate me about shit that's been a year old, where I'm accused of stuff that I didn't do. It's been a year and it's not happened. I don't know how long it's gonna go. But if you remember, it was you screamed at me, "You're a fucking meme!" And all I could think of is no, memes of destruction is right here. And then it was like, also, it's like, what more honor to me in this day and age, being called like a lol cow, which I've been called, and a meme. What the fuck better honor could it be? So I don't know, and all that stuff. And it wasn't just because, like I said, you don't owe me nothing, I owe you nothing. But in some of the things I've been around you in, you know, from what I see of you, if it changes, I'll tell you in the world. But from what I see of you, you only care about one thing, and that's what's the truth, veritas. We care about the veritas. Other than that, well, you know, it's all the lulls. So if it's not one, it's the other, and I do respect that. So look, let me wrap this up. Got to say thank you so much, memes. I will get that out to you. And please, folks, get on Discord. Give me 5 questions. You lot that are still hanging on here, you 16, you're the ones that are so important. Get on Discord. Give me 5 questions for a black supremacist. Give me 5 questions for a reasonable individual. Now the mystery's solved. We know who the individual will be. Don't tailor them to him, or Jensen Quinn will know and won't even tell me about him. So keep them real, keep them honest, keep them academic, keep them hard to answer for both of them. And there we go. And we'll roll that way. So look, folks, I don't have a lot to say right now other than we need more Uzalus. Whether or not Magic Bollocks wants to admit it or not, you know, we're not spring chickens anymore. You know, we're up, and Magic is over 35 and I'm over 40. Common Sense Guy's kind of old. What is he, Magic? I can't remember. He's like 28 or whatever. That's getting up there. It really is. Even though we don't like to admit it, because I remember being 18. I remember being 28. I remember being in those years where I was maybe not quite as wise as I am now, but I was more mentally acute. I was physically stronger. Mrs. Ogre sitting right here. When I was 28, you did not want to cross me in any way. No, in no way. If I couldn't shout you down, I'd beat the fucking shit out of you until you scream for mercy. That was just a running theme of my life. The wonderful thing with age and wisdom, I've been in a fight in years. Now people can cross me all they want. I see it as an opportunity to, not that I'm an old man and can't fight. I probably could still knock somebody out with a punch if I had to. It's got nothing to do with that. I now see the wisdom. I now see the benefit in hearing someone out in talking my way out of a fight. If you can talk your way out of a fight, you've made a friend. And that's every time, mark my, well, maybe not every time. Nothing is every time, but it's majority of the time. A lot of the times, the fisticuffs that you get into that were either physical or verbal, the ding dongs that you get into on Twitter, they're just fun times for you. You don't have to have them. Wisdom would dictate that you use them as learning experiences. That's all of us. So here we go. Here's the final point. When I see these young bucks coming up here, Magic Bollocks, these Uzalus, with the ones that got a brain, right? That actually seem like we could put our faith in them. We could vote for them for our MPs. We could have them as our senators and our representatives. These people, Magic Bollocks, they give me hope. They give me the drive and desire to get up, not tomorrow on my beloved Sabbath day, and all you good Jews, you don't be working now. The sun's down where I'm at, so you put your tools down and you relax, you rest, and you reflect that something greater than you made you and put you where you are. So anyway, learn from wisdom. A man that would love wisdom would love the most faithful of lovers. A man that would hold fast to wisdom would never be lonely. A man that would cling to knowledge and wisdom would gain more than diamonds, gold, and silver. A man that would hold wisdom above everything would want for nothing. And now, folks, as I leave you on this Sabbath day, I'm going to say this is for all of my beloved friends out there. Here's to you. And if you forget everything we've said tonight, if you forget my diatribe that I've just gave, remember this. Be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewer, this is over. At a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and everything you know will depart from you.